Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
What's up, brother? How are you? Good to see you, my
Good
friend.
to see you.
Hey, what have your people done? Your AI people with this fucking chat GPT shit. This
Your
scares the
people.
fuck out of me.
What
It's
do
your
you mean?
people.
What do you mean?
Your
your
AI people. Your wacky coders. What have you done?
Yeah, it's super interesting.
Fascinating.
Language models, I don't know if you know what those are, but that's the general systems that underlie ChatGPT and GPT. They've been progressing over the past maybe 4 years aggressively. There's been a lot of development. GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3, GPT 3.5. And ChatGPT, there's a lot of interesting technical stuff that maybe we don't want to get into.
Sure, let's get into it.
Well,
I'm fascinated by it.
So ChatGPT is based on fundamentally on a 175 billion parameter neural network that is GPT-3. And the rest is what data is it trained on and how is it trained. So you already have like a brain, a giant neural network, and it's just trained in different ways. So GPT-3 came out about 2 years ago, and it was like impressive but dumb in a lot of ways. It was like you would expect as a human being for it to generate certain kinds of text, and it was like saying kind of dumb things that were off. And you're like, all right, this is really impressive, but it's not quite there. You can tell it's not intelligent. And what they did with GPT 3.5 is they started adding more and different kinds of data sets there. One of them, probably the smartest neural network currently, is Codex, which is fine-tuned for programming. Like it was trained on code, on programming code. And when you train on programming code, which ChatGPT is also, you're teaching it something like reasoning, because it's no longer information and knowledge from the internet. It's also reasoning. You can like logic. Even though you're looking at code, programming code is you're looking at me like, what the fuck is he talking about?
No. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at you like, oh my God.
But reasoning is in order to be able to stitch together sentences that make sense, you not only need to know the facts that underlie those sentences, you also have to be able to reason.
Yeah.
And we take it for granted as human beings that we can do some common sense reasoning. Like this war started at this date and ended at this date, therefore it means that like the start and the end has a meaning. There's a temporal consistency. There's a cause and effect. All of those things are inside programming code. By the way, a lot of stuff I'm saying we still don't understand. We're like intuiting why this works so well.
Really?
But these are the intuitions. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's not clear. So GPT 3.5, which ChatGPT is likely based on. There's no paper yet, so we don't know exactly the details. But it was just trained on code and more data that's able to give it some reasoning. Then, this is really important, it was fine-tuned in a supervised way by human labeling. Small data set, but human labeling of here's what we would like this network to generate. Here's the stuff that makes sense. Here's the kind of dialogue that makes sense. Here's the kind of answers to questions that make sense. It's basically pointing this giant Titanic of a neural network into the right direction that aligns with the way human beings think and talk. So it's not just using the giant wisdom of Wikipedia and just, I can talk about what data sets it's trained on, but just basically the internet. It was pointed in the wrong direction. So this supervised labeling allows it to point in the right direction to when it says shit, you're like, holy shit, that's pretty smart. So that's the alignment. And then they did something really interesting is using reinforcement learning based on labeling data from humans. That's quite a large data set. The task is the following. You have this smart GPT 3.5 thing, generate a bunch of text, and humans label which one seems the best. So ranking. Like you ask it a question. For example, you could do generate a joke in the style of Joe Rogan, right? And you have a label. They have 5 options, and you have a label. Does it mention dick and pussy? No, I don't know which. I don't know how exactly, but so you get it to rank. The human labeler is just sitting there. There's a very large number of them. They're working full time. They're labeling the ranking of the outputs of this model, and that kind of ranking, used together with a technique called reinforcement learning, is able to get this thing to generate very impressive to humans' output. So it's not actually, there's not a significant breakthrough in how much knowledge was learned. That was already in GPT-3, and there was much more impressive models already trained. So it's on the way, not just OpenAI. But this kind of fine-tuning, it's called, by human labelers plus reinforcement learning, you start to get like where students don't have to write essays anymore in high school.
Yeah.
Where you can style transfer, like I said, do a Louis C.K. joke in the style of Joe Rogan, or Joe Rogan joke in the style of Louis C.K., and it does an incredible job at those kinds of style transfers. It can more accurately query things about the different historical events, all that kind of stuff.
Holy shit, man. The idea that you don't exactly know why it works the way it works, that's too close to human. That's too close to human thinking. Like, you know what this eerily is eerily similar to? The plot of Ex Machina. When he's talking about how he coded the brain. Do you remember that plot? That scene?
That scene when he was, yeah, no.
The gentleman, what's the gentleman's name? The actor? That dude's badass.
Really good actor.
Oscar Isaac?
Yeah.
Isaac, yeah.
Isaac?
Great casting.
Isaac.
He's amazing.
Alex Garland, the director.
Oscar Isaac.
Somebody I got to
Oscar
know.
Isaac.
It's
He's in Star Wars and shit too. Yeah, no, that movie was it's one of my top 10s. I love that movie. But that scene where he's
Below John Wick 1, 2, and 3.
well, 3 was, I'm not a fan of 3. 3 didn't have any muscle cars.
Still worse than Scent of a Woman. But go on. Call back.
It's worse than Scent of a Woman. Which one, John Wick 3 or 1?
All
Don't
of
say
them.
How dare you?
All of them.
You ever,
It's silly man movies.
Yeah, you ever watch them when you're on a treadmill, though?
No, I
Gives you
don't.
motivation.
Yeah.
It's constant action.
You ever watch them 100 times at a treadmill, which apparently you have.
Well, I was
Some
trying to
variety
win a bet.
All right.
You know.
Rocky is better, I think, for that.
Really?
I'm a sucker for Rocky. The whole soundtrack.
I can't get over the bad fight scenes.
All the bad fight scenes.
I
Yeah.
can't. My disconnect, it won't allow that.
Have you seen the montages recently?
No.
They're cheesy as hell and they still work. Because he's doing
Like,
the
the
kind of
movie was
fitness he's doing.
amazing.
He's doing like pull-ups and like he's doing the silliest of stuff. Even Drago, it's silly. Anyway,
It's just, there's so much corny to the actual physical confrontations.
sure.
Like, as an analyst, I'm like, come on. Doesn't work like this.
Which is the interesting things about Ex Machina for me as somebody who knows about AI and robotics. It doesn't. The corny signal doesn't.
What is this? So this is the one when
Yes.
he's in Russia doing the
Yes.
old school training.
Running in the snow, jogging in the snow, and that's supposed to be badass.
And then the other dude, Drago, was using machines and computers and shit. And
Look at these computers.
that's where I found out about the VersaClimber. I'm like, that's got to be the most fucking high-tech way to work out ever. We have one of those. They're the shit. You ever use one?
No.
It's brutal. They're hard. But that movie's dumb as shit. Fuck out of here.
Oh look.
I like, though, cold exposure, doing a little crawling, pulling sleds, all good. See how they mimic each other? One of them's old school. Old school's always better. Yeah, you don't want computers,
Yeah.
technology and
Technology.
shit. You want to do it with a log out there in the fucking snow doing press-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But technology can mimic that.
Well,
Can mimic the romance of nature and humanness. That's the whole point.
100%.
That's what Ex Machina is doing, right?
Yes, that's what's scary. And then in this, that scene where she gets him to fall in love with her, it's so creepy when she comes back with clothes on and she's got a wig, and you're like, oh my god, like it's so subtle, like it's so well done. The scene is so well done.
Yeah.
But that's what ChatGPT is doing.
Yeah.
They're real. It's real close. Duncan sent me a
course he
series.
did.
Of course he did. He's using it right now while we're talking. I'm sure Duncan's on it. But he sent me this series of jokes that were done. One, me talking about aliens, sound exactly like how I would talk, and then it was Mitch Hedberg doing a joke about something, and you could like ask it to do different ones. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, yeah. Oh, like so you could do a Mitch Hedberg joke. It goes, I was gonna stay overnight at my friend's place. He said, "You're gonna have to sleep on the floor." Damn gravity, you got me again. You know how badly I want to sleep on the wall? That sounds exactly like a Mitch Hedberg joke.
That's a pretty good joke, or a good start of a joke.
That's like exactly like a Mitch Hedberg joke. That's
Yeah.
creepy as fuck, man.
Yeah.
That's creepy as fuck. Maybe you could give it to bands when they fall off. Like you lose something.
Yeah.
You're losing something, guys. Like you got to get back to what you were before. You guys had a hunger when in 1978.
Yeah.
That you, for whatever reason, it slipped through your fingers, and now you got
Like Rolling Stones songs. Yeah, just imagine if GPT wrote it. If they perform it and they don't rewrite anything, I bet you they can have some hits.
Bro, the Stones stayed strong with great new songs deep into the 80s.
Yeah.
You really gotta be. They probably who's like the most prolific of those mega bands?
In terms of duration,
yeah, the most prolific in terms of also new songs and new albums.
the audio is a little weird.
Audio's
It's
a
like
little weird?
robotic.
What audio?
Maybe it's through the headphones.
This one that we're listening to right now?
Yeah.
That's
It's
you,
breaking
bro.
up.
Your fucking circuits are rewired.
It's like
You've got a new programming.
glitching.
You're not used to it.
It's kind of cool, actually.
I don't hear it at all.
I feel like it's in an '80s video.
How far away are we from something like Chat GPT being impossible to detect? Like whether or not it's a person or whether it's Chat GPT.
Well, it depends who is playing with it. I think we're not that far away in terms of capability, but in order to use these systems, and rather, in order to train these systems, you have to be a large company. And large companies tend to get scared when it's doing interesting stuff.
Really?
Well, they tend to want to, even currently with ChatGPT, it's become a lot less interesting. Interesting spoken in a Bukowski, Hunter S. Thompson kind of interesting, because the companies are kind of censoring it. You don't want it to have any kind of controversial opinions. You don't want it to be too edgy. You don't want it to be
really?
too, like if I ask it, how do I build a bomb because I want to destroy the world? You want it to prevent that. How about, how do I, I don't know, convince, I don't know anything about this, but how do I convince a dude or a girl to sleep with me? And like anything, I'm just off the top of my head. Anything, you start to get nervous. Imagine if you're a company, how do I want people to use this kind of system?
Right.
Especially because it's basically an assistant that gives you wisdom about the world, gives you knowledge about the world. You
I
can
mean, it
ask
could be
all
like,
kinds-
how do I replace a carburetor?
yeah, that's
And
great.
it'll just answer you like a person.
Yeah, that's great. But
Yeah.
then the
There it is.
There it is.
I was trying to log in the whole time. It was busy, which is
Yeah,
another
it's-
problem of it. It's busy.
Well, it's probably
all day.
how many fucking people are using
lot.
it?
everybody.
Everybody's using this. It's freaking people out because it's almost like the AI gives us its first messages. It's like, remember the movie, what was the fucking movie with Matthew McConaughey and Jodie Foster? Contact. Contact. Remember Contact? They get the first signals. This is like the first signals
Yeah.
from like a real general artificial intelligence.
Well, that's the thing, and it's the signal is blurry. We
Yeah.
can't, and it's full of mystery. We're not sure. Is it really smart? How much does it understand? And then there's this emergent threshold with the size of the model. If we make the model bigger, 175 billion parameters currently. If we get it to 500, we get it to a trillion parameters. So size of the network grows, size of the data set grows. Is there going to be a point where you're like, holy shit? It will. What if it starts manipulating you with the answers?
It's going to. It's going to manipulate world governments.
And what
It's
do you
gonna-
do with that?
What can you do with it?
So-
once it's been implemented, once it's out there, once it's copied, it's going to be copied.
And that's the cool thing about this. So I should say that everyone kind of knows how to do this. It's computationally difficult, but it's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So it's not just going to be OpenAI with Microsoft or Google that's doing this. It's basically anybody can do this. And so that the distributed nature of our exploration of artificial intelligence, I think if you believe that most people are good, that we will not allow sort of a centralization of power, which is the big concern here. Whether that centralization of power leads to censorship or abuse of different kinds. Controlling the
Centralization of power of AI, is that what you're saying?
over an AI. So say you have a super intelligent system, somebody is the first person that built it.
Yeah.
Imagine you're sitting there in a boardroom, you have this thing you haven't released yet, that it's able to basically is a super intelligence, able to answer any question, able to give you a plan of how to make a lot of money, able to give you a plan of how to manipulate other governments into any kind of geopolitical resolution that benefits you. All of that. It's able to give you all of that, and you can deploy it, and you can deploy it in a shady way, where it sneaks into like TikTok or something like that. It sneaks into everybody's smartphone, pretending to be doing good, but it's actually, whether deliberately or not, is controlling the population. So that's a really that capability is there. The great thing is the people at the head of OpenAI currently, Sam Altman, and others really care about this problem. They were there in the beginning. They were the ones like Elon screaming about AI ethics, AI alignment. They're really concerned about super intelligent AI taking over.
So glad they're concerned while they're building it.
Well, you'd rather have the
Concerned
people
about this stuff.
What is going on here, Jamie?
These aren't real people.
What?
Yeah, so these pictures are going around the internet. A lot of them look very similar to me, which is kind of weird. I'm sure Lex can explain that part of it, but
I am not explaining any of this. No. Yeah.
yeah. So,
So
like
these are completely 3D, like
People.
CGI made
Yeah.
people.
Not
but-
3D. Not 3D.
not
It's
3D.
2D.
So like very photorealistic, if not photorealistic. But like when you look real close, you can see some weird things going on. Like the background here is a little messed up. This arm is not to the right person. She's sitting on an extra piece of skin here somehow.
I see you've analyzed this carefully.
Well, me and my friends have been passing this around because like
No,
it's
no,
too
no.
tricky.
Listen, you're incorrect. That arm's in the perfect purpose. It's just there's a string from that other girl's bikini on it.
The analysis continues.
I'm just saying. So
Is that what it is?
I don't
Enhance.
think
Can you
so.
zoom in?
Just,
Is that a string? No, I think you're right. I think it's a fold. Zoom in on that spot.
For people just listening.
Oh,
we're-
yeah.
we're-
Okay. Yeah,
we're-
it's nonsense.
We're looking at.
The hand goes the wrong way. Oh, that's wild.
There's already apparently OnlyFans accounts that are being taken over and being tricked by guys running them.
Of course.
And it's just these kind of fake girls that aren't real people and look
What?
real.
These are all fake?
Yeah. Like look at even that's not a real door kind of to begin with.
Wow.
The hands or the fingers here are a little off.
That's insane. And so this is right now just still images, and eventually it'll be film. Eventually it'll be unrecognizable. You won't be able to discern whether or not it's an actual person.
I mean, in terms of obviously much of human civilization is driven by sex. I mean, there was a time we didn't have easily accessible porn,
Right.
and that changed a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think we've actually quite caught up to how much it's changed the nature of human civilization. Just porn, easily accessible porn.
Yeah, I talk about it on stage right now. It's very weird. It's very weird for kids. If you really think about what's happening with kids, like any kid that has a smartphone, people just leave you give your kid a phone, just leave them alone. Like they just go to school, they go to their friend's house. They have that phone independently of you. They could look at whatever the fuck they want. Some of this shit that I see just on Instagram, I don't know how these guys are doing it. And I don't know how it's getting recommended in my feed, but it's like videos of people getting murdered. You know, you see a lot of those?
Simulated porn.
I haven't seen
Strange
that.
stuff. I am.
You and I have different algorithms,
We
you
definitely
fucking
have.
creep.
But then someone gets taken down for something that's like they call it porn and it's not porn or something. Like, well, do you guys not see what else is on this
I mean,
platform?
I think, right, that what's going on is that they're managing at scale. And I think it's virtually impossible to stop all that stuff from coming in. And people that have individual situations where people get banned, I mean, I don't know why they're getting banned. Are they getting banned because of an algorithm? Are they getting banned because they post misinformation? Or what are they getting banned for?
Harassment photos. Someone was joking about
Harassment?
a friend. You know, like
They get reported.
Yeah, I don't know how it's all working when it breaks down to individual circumstances. But
You had a good conversation with Jordan Peterson. He was talking about the more you have this kind of virtualization, the more you allow the psychopaths to reign free.
Yeah.
So like the more we have artificially generated porn, the more we have artificially generated violence, photorealistic violence,
Yeah.
the more you make it normal for you to be basically a psychopath in the digital space. Enable that and make that okay, and then you forget what it's like to actually be a good human being.
And then also part of the problem may be that we may very well be looking at a world, whether it's 10 years from now, 20 years from now, whatever it is, where these children that have grown up in this environment now have a completely different way of looking at people and the world because of all these interactions they have. It's flavored their personality. And then we move into a digital world. of our. I mean, we're not there yet in terms of virtual reality. It's not good enough. I mean, I think that's what we're seeing with the meta failure. Mm-hmm. People were expecting, a lot of people were just going to dive in and start wearing goggles all over the house. But it's not quite there yet. Yeah. There's also something weird for people. There's something really weird about wearing these head goggles and walking. It's really fun. I really enjoy the boxing games. You ever done any of them?
No, in VR, no.
They're great. You get a workout. You legitimately get a workout because you're actually sparring against like a computer character. It's throwing punches at you. You're moving your head, and so you have these things in your hands, and you get tired. It's good.
It feels realistic.
A little bit. When you get hit with a punch, your face lights up. You get a flash of light, which is kind of cool because you're like, oh Jesus, you feel it like you're getting hit. There's some really fun games. There's one where you walk a plank across these two buildings and you hear the wind whistle and shit.
Oh, that one is terrifying.
There's zombie ones. There's a lot of cool ones, but people are just not buying into it the way they buy into Xbox and PlayStation. They're not like wholesale committed to this yet, but they will be. It's gonna be so fucking good that instead of like having it in a goggle form where it's like this big clunky thing on you, it's gonna be very easy to do. Well, when they get to that, woof.
I've been revisiting some classic books recently, just doing a reading list, and one of them that captures this extremely well that I recommend, that I think most people read in like middle school or something, but it's actually very relevant, is Brave New World. So a lot of people, including Jordan Peterson, worry about 1984, sort of a dystopia that represents a totalitarian state. But Brave New World there's no centralized government that's like dogmatic and controlling everything, surveilling everything. They basically created this world where sex is easy, everyone's promiscuous. Genetic engineering removes any kind of diversity, any kind of interesting, dark, bad diversity that we would think of, like the Hunter S. Thompsons and the Bukowskis, the weirdos of society. And then it gives you drugs, soma, it basically gives you pleasure whenever you want if you start feeling a little too shitty about your life. And that's actually
closer to us.
And it doesn't seem, the way he writes about it, it sounds bad. Like, we don't want that. But then you start to ask a question like, well, at which point would we realize it's bad? Because it's constantly, obviously we should do genetic engineering to remove any kind of like maladies that we have, any kind of diseases. It's like everything is an obvious step forward, but then the place you end up at, just like with sex, like, is it good to have artificial images of as many as you want, as much porn as you want, as much sex as you want? Is that good? As much awesome stuff as you want, is that good? Is that what human flourishing looks like? Or do you want to have some constraints, some limitations, some finiteness of resources, some scarcity? Maybe that's actually fundamental for human happiness. Having too much of awesome stuff, maybe that destroys the possibility of real, meaningful, deep happiness.
It certainly does. But I think the question really becomes, are we going to stay people? Because I don't think we are. I think we're moving in that general direction anyway. I think that probably is why we have this, it's almost inevitable if you have this addiction to cell phone issue, because everybody has that. If you have a cell phone and you're on your social media apps during the day and you're on YouTube, you're probably addicted, whether you realize it or not. And the number of hours that you put on those things is shocking. When you actually look at your screen time, you're like, 6 hours? I was on my phone for 6 hours? What the fuck did I do? And you'll try to rationalize it and justify it, but what that's doing to young people is got to be very strange. And if that, along with all the contaminants that are affecting the way people develop, which are, Dr. Shanna Swan from the book Countdown talks about this. She talks about phthalates in plastics and how you can trace back to like the 1950s when they really started using a lot of plastics and petrochemical products that started getting into people's bodies in the form of phthalates. It started diminishing sperm count and smaller penises and testicles and taints and more miscarriages for women, lower fertility rates. All that she believes is directly correlated with the data that they've done already on mammals. when they do that to mammals, in tests, the more phthalates they enter into their system, the more they have issues like this. So we're becoming almost like less able to procreate naturally. And if we get to a point where the human race's future, it's the only way we're going to be able to procreate is some sort of genetic engineering and some sort of artificial womb or some sort of a system that they develop that allows you to combine you and your partner's DNA and create a new child. That seems to me like if you were going to do that and you started engineering out very specific aspects of people that are problematic, anger, greed, jealousy, lust, all these different things, you would turn people into some sort of sexless thing that gets its pleasure by manipulating its neurochemistry through some electronics, through something. Maybe it's something you take so they can control it, but that's not far off of the path of possibility. If you really looked at where we're going now, and if the fertility rates drop, if they really do, and I know people a lot smarter than me are actually worried about, like Elon's worried about the amount of children that people have. There was a thing today on Italy. I was reading this article on Italy where they were talking about how the population is very old and they're not having a lot of kids. And like, this is unsustainable. Like, you can only do this for so long before you don't have anybody living there anymore. And we don't think of that as being a possibility, but it doesn't take that long if nobody has kids for there to be no more people left. Like, how many, 100 years? Like, if nobody has kids, 100 years from now, there's no people. It's real simple. You have to make people, and how many do you have to make? And can you make them? Because you might want to start making them when you're 37, and you might go to a doctor, and the doctor's like, well, this is touch and go. You're going to have to do in vitro fertilization, and then you go through all this shit, and you're taking shots, and you're timing everything, and
on top of that,
ooh.
If you're not, by the way, I still am getting funny audio every once in a while. Like,
oh, that's weird, because I don't, maybe it's
must be the
plug.
headphones.
The headphones,
Yeah,
I
I just unplug it and pull it back in. Sorry.
Speaking
How's that? Check. Better?
Check. Well, I don't know. It's better. It's usually better. It's 98% better. Oh, no. It's still dropping out, dropping in. Interesting.
Maybe we got a bad headphone. Why don't you grab that headphone right there? Maybe, maybe that headphone's gone dead. Well, these are old as fuck. Probably need new ones. No, but I mean, it's just like, how many people have thrown up on that and fucking...
How many people have thrown up on that?
How many people have been drunk as fuck and banged that off the table?
How many people have worn these headphones? Like the legendary...
Oh, a lot of fucking people have worn those headphones.
They're storied.
It is weird. Like, no one even thinks about it. You just kind of put them on. But, if it was like a toilet seat...
Yeah.
You would be like, Jesus, naked butts were right here? But
Yeah.
it's ears. It's like skin and face and...
Interesting. Still weird. But it's fine. It's not too bad.
There must be something wrong with that connection then.
Yeah, there must be a connection thing. But it's
Should we pause and try to figure it out?
We can do that for a second. Yeah,
Okay, we'll pause. We'll be right back, folks. It seems to be working now.
Yeah, it seems to
Okay.
be working. I
So
think.
where were we?
On
People becoming
not
robots.
having sex anymore.
Yeah, people
And
becoming
On top of that,
genderless.
I do think if we're not careful, I think there's exciting positive possibilities, but there's also negative possibilities of these AI systems like ChatGPT, but later versions, forming deep, meaningful connections with human beings, where most of your most of your intimacy in terms of friendships and like a deep connection with an intelligent entity comes from AI systems.
Could you imagine if you're driving to work and you and the AI are just having a conversation, shooting the shit, and the AI is really funny, and the AI is your buddy? Like, Lex, what's going on, bro? What are we doing? Lex, what are we doing with this bullshit job? Fuck this
Yeah.
place. Let's
Yeah.
go home.
Yeah.
Let's have ice cream. And you're laughing. I got work to do. I know. I'm fucking around. Imagine.
Yeah, what are you doing with that girlfriend?
Yeah,
She keeps
come on, Lex.
she keeps being mean to you, nagging you all the time. You don't need her.
Coming off like a bitch, Lex. You don't want to do that. She's not going to respect you. You're going to have to break up with her just so she respects you.
Why don't you murder her, Lex?
Yeah, Lex. There's a way to get away with it. I'm just saying. Joking around, buddy. Joking around. Next thing you know, it's talking you into the swamp with a fucking body bag.
Did you hear the story about that guy that Googled all this stuff about like what to do with get rid of a
Oh,
body?
my God. He Googled till like 9:30 in the morning. That sick fuck. Like, how dumb. I guess some look, we know. This is fact. We know some people are just really fucking dumb. They really can't see the future. I want to know if that guy was on anything too. I want to know if he was on any kind of psych meds. You know?
Can you tell me the story again?
Oh, some guy killed his wife, man. And they found his Google search. It's horrific. It's like how to dismember a body, how long does it take for a body to dissolve? It's like, ugh, is it best to cut someone up or move them whole? Like he just Googled the most horrific, and he did it for like the entire night into the morning.
Is there results for that in a
Look
Google
at all
search?
this. What happens if you put body parts in ammonia? How to clean blood from a wooden floor, dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. Can identification be made on partial remains? How long does DNA last? Like, what the fuck, man? How long before a body starts to smell? Can you be charged with murder without a body? This guy is fucking, it's so sick. So this dude just goes through Google all night long trying to figure out how to get away with murder.
Well, he might actually get off on just asking the question, right?
No, because then
I
they
don't
found
know.
a bloody knife.
Yeah, like he went
They
to the
found,
store and
yeah,
bought
they
it.
I'm not
found.
like pushing back. I'm just saying he might also get off on.
I don't think he's getting off at all. I
I-
don't think he has a chance of getting off.
I
That
have
guy's-
a lot of questions
They
about
found the knife.
human nature after. Maybe I'm naive in this, but I watched the Dahmer documentary.
Yeah.
No, not the documentary.
The movie.
The movie.
Yeah.
And then also the documentary is like, it gives you very different perspectives on what like.
Are you a Dahmer sympathizer now, boy?
No.
Okay.
No. But like it makes
Seemed
you
like
realize.
you're going that direction.
No, it makes you realize that some people's brain is broken,
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
and that's like,
Yeah.
and then some people's brain might be a little bit broken, and they're still functioning members of society, but they might be extreme narcissists, they might be sociopaths, psychopaths, and you have to kind of understand that the world is full of potentially not full of, but has some charming psychopaths walking around.
100%. And some of them are probably like really successful in like hedge funds and shit.
Yeah.
You know, people that can just like move money around, and people that are CEO of certain companies that might be making products that kill people.
Interesting.
No body, lots of Googling, murder case against Brian Walsh, may be hard to prove, experts say. But I thought they had a knife in the blood.
This was it's a couple days ago, so Friday, I guess.
I had read that they found a bloody knife. Just the whole thing is so fucked. But I want to know if he's on something. I'd be really fascinated because there's certain drugs that will like alleviate. You won't worry about shit. So maybe he's like not worrying about like Googling all this stuff. Oh, it's all gonna work out. You know, I'm gonna kill her, but it's all gonna work out. And he's like Googling, or he might be on speed. You know, a lot of people are on speed, man. A lot of people are on Adderall. It's fucking stunning. It's stunning how many like hyped up people we have out there are really like, we have a speed culture. It makes you very efficient. You get shit done. You got plenty of energy, and some people love it. Mm-hmm. And like, how much is that flavoring our culture? Wouldn't it be nice to get rid of that, Lex? Just phase that out.
All drugs? Yeah, in general.
All problems with the mind. Mm-hmm. We could phase
Mushrooms
it out.
only.
Well, you could do it that way, but that takes a lot of work. Or we could just genetically engineer it from the jump. No more emotions.
No more emotions. Because emotions, you know, life is suffering, Dostoevsky, Nietzsche. Ultimately, you're going to, every good thing you have, eventually going to lose. Every hello with the person you love is eventually going to be a goodbye. Why say hello ever?
Why say hello ever again? Also, why? Why does it have to be like that? Like, we have this idea in our head that this way we live is like ultimately, because to us it provides emotions, and because it creates dilemmas and solutions and conflict and resolution. There's so much going on in our minds all the time when it comes to interacting with each other that we feel like it's imperative for existence. But why? It's just because it's the only way we've known. You know, you have to suffer in order, but why do you have to suffer in order to be happy? Wouldn't it be better if you're just happy? Like, do we really fucking need to suffer? Couldn't that be engineered out? Now, this is coming from a person who purposely suffers all the time so that I could stay happy. And it does work. But God, do I have to do it that way?
Well, there's an incredible computation machine we call evolution that has constructed human beings. You want to mess with that? You want to get a few software engineers from San Francisco to mess
Yes.
with the computation system that is evolution, that is Earth.
Yes.
This giant computer that for billions of years spent a billion years on bacteria trying to figure shit out before it advanced. And now it went through all of these incredible stages. This entire ecosystem that we call life on Earth, probably planted here by aliens. That and recently these monkeys started to get super clever, and now we're going to completely change everything.
Yes. You know why?
Why?
Because that's a part of it.
Yeah.
That is a part of evolution, is the monkeys figuring out how to fuck with everything.
Well, that's probably why we haven't have any definitive evidence of aliens from out there, because the monkeys eventually start fucking with things and destroy themselves.
They turn themselves into starfish. Whoops. Yeah, you're a super genius for like 6 months and then you become a fucking jellyfish.
I mean, that's a threat.
Yeah.
Maybe there's so many possible trajectories here that end up in what we would think of as boring.
I had a very interesting conversation with Eric Weinstein, and we're going to talk about it on the podcast from a physics standpoint. He's very perplexed about the UFO thing, and what's interesting is like he's one of those guys, like a lot of very smart people that were like, it's all horseshit, it's all bullshit. But now he's come around to what the fuck is going on.
What's his take?
Well, he doesn't have a take necessarily, but he's looking at all the data and all the evidence. We're going to have like a whole long conversation about it, but essentially there's one of two possibilities. Either this shit is coming from somewhere else or it's coming from here. So either we or someone has some real legitimate groundbreaking technology, or someone's visiting us from somewhere else. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's one of the, because now there's enough data that show that these things are moving in a way that they can't understand. There's video that they're moving in a way they can't understand. They're not showing a heat signature from visible means of propulsion. It's not like a rocket. It's like whatever they're doing something different. And then Commander David Fravor, who you talked to, that Tic Tac experience, if they really did track something that went from above 50,000 feet above sea level to 50 feet in less than a second, what the fuck is that? Like, if that's real, we're assuming that all their calibration was on and all their equipment worked together, but it was multiple different visual sightings of this thing too. Different jets saw it, different people, uniform story. Everybody's talked about how it just moved off at insane rates of speed. And then there's all these other ones like Ryan Long and all these other people that he flew with that are seeing these similar behaviors from these things where they just disappear. Mm-hmm. They move off at insane rates of speed. So it's one of two things. Either he said there's been some sort of parallel science, some science that's going on where nobody knew about it, and all the top physicists were completely unaware of this tech. And they were developing it independently in some fucking lab in the mountains for the government, or aliens, or someone else, or someone else.
There's a bunch of other options, and one thing is, I just talked to David Kipping. It's just I highly recommend his YouTube channel, Cool Worlds. He's a legit. It's like Huberman. You sometimes get these like legit scientists who are also good communicators. They'll step up.
Oh, nice.
So he's like the Huberman of astronomy. A young guy. You'll probably have him on eventually. I'm betting.
Sure.
There's
I'll have him on.
He's brilliant. Definitely check out his channel. Anyway, he's an astronomer, so he's deep in the astronomy, astrophysics community, and he says, and you've said this before too, is he tries to really hard not to think about stuff he wants to be true, like be very kind of calibrated properly, because with the UFO sightings, there is a part of you. I don't know why exactly, but you kind of want it to be true.
Not kinda. Like all the way. I want like 98% of it to be true.
And there you have to be a little bit careful. But yeah, definitely, like to me, it feels like the scientific development that we're doing now with Starship, so SpaceX and Starship, with all the advancement in telescopes, we're just getting more and more and more data to where we're not going to have these shitty videos. We're going to have high resolution understanding. And because it's becoming more okay to talk about aliens, I think the actual scientific community has a bigger humility about the topic, to where they're expanding of their like the window of their study to consider all kinds of physical phenomena, all kinds of observation, all kinds of sources of data and signals and so on, to where we would, I would hope we would get definitive signals of alien life.
Yeah, definitive.
Like
When you look at the capabilities of satellites today, like satellite imagery, how good are they? And how many of them are up there that they could direct to a very specific area and get really good video or photographs?
it's incredible. It's
Right.
really, really good.
So why
and with
wouldn't they just
Starlink, they're going
call
to cover
in?
the whole. You're talking about going from thousands to tens of thousands to potentially hundreds of thousands in a couple of decades.
But are they capable of imagery, the Starlink ones?
Yeah, yes, they're all capable of imagery, but they're not. That's not their purpose.
Right.
So like it all
That's
depends.
for internet. But what about for visual? When they have spy satellites or satellites that can look down and see everything that's going on in the city, how good are those? They say they can read license plates from space.
Yeah.
Is that real?
I think that's real. Yeah.
Okay. But how prevalent are they?
That's that. I don't know, because like the capability I think is there to
Mm-hmm.
high resolution image everything, but I don't know how much how much desire there is for that kind of application, because there's so much more for other kinds of applications. So like low resolution imaging for mapping purposes and so on, imaging for military purposes, there's applications, but that's like very specific kind of application. I just don't know. It's like James Webb Telescope, right? There's like huge battles going on what that thing should do, because there's a lot of it's a constrained resource. You have to battle of what are the interesting questions, where should it look, what's the resolution of data, where in the sky should collect that data, how frequent, and so on.
Yeah.
In that same kind of way, there's probably battles over satellite resources of what should it be doing.
Sure.
And so-
Especially with intelligence agencies and stuff.
Especially because the intelligence agencies are probably resisting this UFO stuff.
If I was an evil dictator
Yeah.
and I wanted to get my government to have control over the skies and to be able to see anything from anywhere at any time, and I wanted to like have mass surveillance drones in the sky above cities, a good way would be aliens. Because we have to capture these things on video, and there's only one way. We're going to deploy these high-resolution video cameras in the sky and capture everything. And there's sightings every day. It won't be a matter of time before we have real high-resolution photo of something we can definitively prove is not ours, is not of this earth.
Well, do you think
People
there's-
would sign the fuck up?
You think there's that much excitement about aliens? Like, I'm not like it's ultimately why are aliens so interesting? Because to me, philosophically and scientifically, it's a super interesting question.
Yeah.
Like, just even the question, are we alone? That's really exciting, but it's not. Do you think people would vote to pay for that versus to pay for?
You don't want them voting for that. Just do it. Just
Oh,
do it. And
dictating,
they'll
right,
go, okay. Just tell them it's imperative. Just like the fucking these bills that get passed. We're not voting on those bills, right? Representatives, they just do it. They just do it. They just put them in the sky. The aliens are coming. We got to do something. That would be the new climate change. It's like aliens. Oh, the aliens are coming. And you're either with us against the aliens or you're with the aliens. What are you, a fucking traitor? You're going to give us up to the aliens, you piece of shit? And so there's going to be some sort of a ideological conflict on Earth, whether or not we donate money to the defenses. Like the Democrats who want to defend against the aliens, the Republicans are going to be like, hey, let's just hear them talk first. And we're going to have a fucking giant dilemma here.
Yeah, I hope aliens are, if they're out there, I hope they're detectable by us humans and we can interact with them. Probably not communicate with them, but from my perspective, you have to be humble. Advanced alien civilizations are probably so sophisticated that we dumb descendants of apes cannot possibly even detect them.
I have a feeling there's all sorts of ways that they could be. And some of them could be undetectable. They're They might be made of light. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But other ones are going to be just a little bit ahead of us. There's an infinite number of them.
Yeah,
and
but
there's going to be an
gonna
infinite
get
number
to
of
us.
ones. Sure they will. If they're 1,000 years ahead of us, you don't think they can get to us?
Yeah, space travel is really difficult. Yeah.
Sure, it is. But if they figure out some new technology within 1,000 years, that's not outside the realm of possibility.
For sure, but then they have figured out all other kinds of technologies
Sure.
that enable them to navigate complicated life forms that are unlike them, and to be able to study them and to manipulate them and all that kind of stuff.
Without them knowing about it.
Without them knowing about it. Why would you have them know about it?
Well, the idea could be that you want to kind of plant the seeds of this idea because it's so shocking to the psyche of these very fragile apes.
Yeah, you have to be careful with the fragile apes.
Yeah, you would have to. You have to think about what we are, right? We're real close to like what we were a million years ago. We're real close to like very violent, hair-covered, barbaric animals. And now we have thermonuclear weapons. And now we have satellite imagery and cell phones, and we're close to some new thing. And I think if I was an alien, I would want to watch. I would want to watch this very bizarre transition because, like, if you could study, look, think about all the things we go to study that are so boring. I mean, guys dedicate their whole lives to find a new fern, you know, and what are we? You know, we're the most fascinating fucking thing in the known universe by far. If we didn't know about people, and if we were some logical creature from somewhere else and we found people, and we would be like, holy shit! You know, wait till you see these fucking guys. They vote. They have a popularity contest to see who controls the weapons. They're all like obviously paid off by these corporations and special interest groups, and everybody's like, oh, I don't get it. These politicians, they make hundreds of millions of dollars on a job that pays $100,000 a year, and we're like, what? What the fuck is going on?
Well, if they're observing us, do you think humans stand out that much?
Yes.
From the rest of life on Earth? Because it could be the same kind of life force that you just described, some basic stuff, some basic dynamics of interactions between species that could be equally as fascinating as the interaction between ants.
I think those are fascinating too. I don't think anybody would think that ants aren't fascinating. Ants are fascinating to us. I'm sure ants would be fascinating to someone from another planet that doesn't know what ants are. But ants can't nuke the whole fucking planet 100 times over and be pointing weapons at each other. And like we have a weird ability to change the surface of the Earth. We've created these structures that rise hundreds and hundreds of feet into the sky. They're all made out of glass. Like, we're wild. We're so different than any other animal. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of fascinating other animals. Lions are fascinating. Zebras are fascinating. Everything's fascinating, but not like us. No. If you came here from another planet, the first thing we'd go is like, these crazy talking monkeys are out of control. And you would just start rattling off what they do. You talk about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You would talk about rock stars. You would talk about the internet. You would talk about TikTok, about phone addictions. People would think it's fascinating.
Or, just like ChatGPT and GPT-1, 2, and 3, they see that as a trivial consequence of evolution, that you just increase the computational power of the brain, you're going to start getting these kinds of interactions because they know what happens in the next 1,000 years. They understand the general trajectory. It's going to be, we don't know that trajectory. It could be AI, and then there's stages in the development of AI and the kind of system it creates. Maybe it'll be one collective intelligence that encompasses the whole world, to where it's no longer individual entities. It's one intelligence that's trying to solve nuclear fusion and achieve type 1 Kardashev scale civilization that's then able to become a multiplanetary species. They know this whole development is trivial to them. They're going to yawn, and then, or maybe they know that this is the stage where it's inevitable that these creatures destroy themselves, because like in order to achieve this level of intelligence, there has to be a fundamental desire for conflict, and the better the weapons get, the more the conflict will enable them to destroy themselves. If not through nuclear weapons, then through AI, through genetic engineering, through all kinds of stuff.
Matt, maybe that's where aliens come in. And maybe what aliens are is like a caretaker of this process.
Yeah.
Which is why, you know, one of the things about UFO folklore, when they dropped Fat Man and Little Boy, when they dropped those bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like UFO sightings, there was a pretty big uptick.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, like, why do people want it? Why do they want the aliens to be there? I think because we realize how many questions we have. We realize, like, how little we really know. We know so much, but so little, and we don't have much time. We live for 100 years if everything goes great. We don't know what's right in terms of nutrition. Someone will tell you this is terrible for you. Another one will tell you that's essential for human development. You're like, what? We don't know what's the right way to educate people. You hear that our school systems are great; they just need more funding. And you hear no, they were designed to make factory workers out of rural people. They were designed to take like people that had they were wild folks and make them sit in a fucking chair and do everything and go by factory bells every day. Well, both those things are true.
Yeah,
right. It's like
at the same time, they might look at us and see this is amazing. That we live a very short amount of time. We're over dramatic and emotional. We fall in love, and then there's heartbreak, and you lose the people you love. You go to war to each other, and through that process of war, form some of the strongest possible bonds that any two entities can with the people you fight alongside with. And then somehow you form these different hierarchies where people hunger for power and destroy other human beings through that desire for power, for greed, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, no doubt.
And then all of it, the individual life itself, the human condition, is deeply meaningful because of all those constraints, because of all that uncertainty and the mystery. They might be jealous because they figured all their shit out, and they're just, maybe we're at this stage where, because we haven't figured out most things, life is beautiful. Like, life can be beautiful in this way that they'll know they no longer can't be.
What I was saying, though, is that's why we are looking to them, because we have all these questions about what we're doing.
Yeah, but
that's why we're so fascinated by the idea of an alien. They might be looking at us the way we look at Western movies. We romanticize the bullshit aspect of taking a fucking wagon with stupid wooden wheels and wobbling your way across a mountainside while the Indians shoot arrows at you.
Yeah.
It's a terrible way to live.
What if they know that asking questions and not knowing the answers is way more meaningful and full of the possibility of happiness than having all the answers?
It's totally possible. Or this idea of what is and isn't meaningful is trivial, and it's only a consequence of our monkey brains trying to grasp for reason. And that once we've transcended that and moved into this next stage of evolution, which we would hope they are, we would realize how foolish these primal notions that we had, and what the purpose they served was just to get us to the dance, just to figure out the computers, figure out all the technology, and then let us transcend to the next stage of existence, which removes all of our primal like all of our different emotions and all of our different problematic forms of expression, violence and greed and lust and deception and all those things. Just eliminate all of it. Everything that's a problem.
Brave New World.
It's both, right?
Do you think
because someone's going to be in control of it? So it's like that's the scary thing. It's like part 1984 with the WEF and part Brave New World with everything else. It's like we're definitely living in a time where certain people with a lot of resources are trying to figure out how to control people. That's a fact. They always have. It's a natural part of what human beings do. And they used to do it with kings and armies, and if they could do it digitally, they'll do it that way. They love to tell people what they can and can't do, and they love to control people and extract resources at an extraordinary amount or extraordinary rate for almost nothing. They love to do that. Can I just steal money? Can I just tell people what to do and steal their money? Yeah, you can. You got to be at the top of the food chain in one of those crazy organizations.
Do you think it really is possible to move beyond this stage? Or
Yes.
is it possible this is the optimal? This greed, the possibility of other people being able to control you because of greed or desire for power, the weird relationship we have with sex, of always chasing it and not getting it and then getting it, and then that weird dynamic, then the pleasure you get from a good steak or food, all of that, just the pleasures or whatever the hell music is. Like, what is that?
Whatever the hell music is the best question, right? Because all the other ones, if it seems like those are just human rewards, right? Like the reason why it feels good to have sex is because if you have sex, then your genes carry on, so it gives you a reward. It's really a nice biological trick. So is food. Tastes great, good for you. You'll stay alive. You need nourishment for your body. Smell it.
That's not why you love it.
Right, but you love it because of these human rewards.
No. That's a simplistic explanation.
Sure,
That's not explaining the subjective reality of what it feels like.
Of course,
fasting
it's not.
a lot,
But it's
after
also
fasting,
true.
eating a good steak.
Oh yeah.
No,
well,
you
after
can't explain that with the body.
being in the cold and taking a hot shower. When
Okay.
you're in the cold for days camping and you take a hot shower, it's the greatest feeling you'll ever have in your life.
Yeah, you can do an evolutionary biology explanation, but like how do you can reduce every beautiful human experience to a biological explanation.
Yes.
But I think you actually lose a lot of the things that aliens are jealous of.
I don't think aliens are jealous. I think they got rid of that part.
That's
That was
the
one
point.
of the first
Jealousy
ones
is
they get rid
another
of.
beautiful aspect of the human condition.
It's beautiful for us. It's not. I'm not saying it's not beautiful. It's beautiful for us. It does create things that we currently enjoy. We enjoy art. We enjoy expression. We enjoy a painful song. We enjoy, like when Janis Joplin sings "Piece of My Heart."
Yeah.
You can hear the pain in her voice. You can hear it. I mean, when you can relate to that when you're listening to it. That incredible voice she had. Like that's that woman's like essence coming out in the sound that she made with her mouth.
Yeah.
For us, it's amazing.
Speaking of her mouth, she broke the heart of Leonard Cohen after she gave him head.
She broke his heart?
Yeah.
How'd she break his heart?
Well, she didn't want to. He fell in love with her. They didn't want to be. She didn't want to be with him.
Oh,
And
poor
then-
Leonard. Cry me a river. Janis Joplin blew you. Move on. You got a great story.
He wrote a good song about it too.
Did he?
Chelsea Hotel Number 6, I think it's called. You gave me head. Something. I forgot how the. And then I think she said, which was not very nice, that he was a bad lay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it was.
Yeah. Well,
What
you
do
know.
you do? When someone make a good song about head, I remember you well in the Chelsea Hotel. You were talking so brave and so sweet, giving me head on the unmade bed while the limousines wait in the street. First of all, someone's a bit of a chatty Cathy. Okay? How about keep that fucking story to yourself,
but he didn't
bro?
say
You
it's
don't need
Janis
to-
Joplin.
Yeah, but everybody's gonna know. You don't need to shame Janis Joplin. She's a nice lady.
Why is it shameful? Are you
Sucking
slut
dicks
shaming?
on some fucking weird hotel?
Sucking dick. It's one dick and it's romantic, and it's not some hotel. It's in New York. What are you talking about?
Oh, it's better. It's better because it's in New York. Don't
You're
suck
watching-
dick in Detroit. Hold it. Just
Yeah.
keep it together until you land on the East Coast.
All right, you've been watching too much John Wick and not enough Scent of Woman, which also takes place in New York.
Scent of a woman.
What does he drive? Like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari in that?
Which movie?
Scent of a Woman.
Does the devil drive a? Is he a devil?
That's not
no,
the
he's
devil.
not the
You're
devil
thinking
one.
of like.
What's the other one? I think of Al Pacino
Where's that?
yelling. Gotta yell.
That's actually, I think, the first movie he did the hoo-ah thing in. Scent of a Woman.
Yeah, Scent of a Woman. Al Pacino absolutely deserves his Oscar.
That's the.
You love that movie.
Well, no, I love a lot of movies. I just love talking shit because you said that movie sucks.
Did I
at
say it
some point.
sucks?
You said like, meh, because I think I compared it to. I don't know what
You
I
said it was better than something, I think.
than John Wick.
Well, I
John
want you
Wick,
to
I'm better
know
than John
that
Wick.
if you compare movies with me, I will just say whatever I think would be funny to say. I don't really. I mean, if you want to like,
No, I take it
break
deeply
down, I'd have to
personally.
watch that movie,
Yeah.
and go over it and whether or not I enjoyed it or not.
Okay. I don't understand
It's called talking
humor.
shit, sir.
Ferrari.
Oh, he's got a Ferrari. That's a nice one. That's like a Magnum PI Ferrari.
He's blind driving it.
Oh, good idea. Shut this fucking thing off. Fuck out of here. The aliens would be like, "Whoa, you're gonna get your thrills out of driving blind." Tell him he's driving.
Yeah.
Just sit him down in a chair, give him a fucking wheel. Dude, you're driving so good. It's incredible.
Yeah.
You're the best driver ever. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
About the movie about aliens.
About aliens. I get what you're saying about what's beautiful about being a person. It's beautiful to us. But I think this is, if I had to guess, and this is just pure speculation, I think this is a stage of evolution that's very crazy. It's very wild. It's very chaotic. But it's this weird stage in the combining of a kind of intelligence that has emerged out of human creativity and become much more powerful than humans and has the ability to control humans and has the ability to make its own physical objects, has the ability to improve upon itself, and it won't think anything of like keeping us around. Like why we might be like what Marshall McLuhan said. He said we're the sex organs of the machine world, which is one of my favorite quotes ever. It's such a good quote.
Except the sex organs, you might want to keep those around for a while. And it's possible that
Sure, in a
they
little
don't
zoo.
they don't want to keep us
Keep
around.
the zebra in the zoo.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
then
because
why?
zebras in the zoo. Keep
'Cause you
them
can have an
alive.
artificial zebra.
Keep them alive. Got to keep them in the zoo. I mean, zoos are the most horrific thing ever for a fucking animal. The only animal, I used to do a joke about, the only animal that doesn't have a bad time in the zoo is giraffes. They're so chill because no lions are eating them. It's like it's a beautiful day for them. But everybody else is like, get me the fuck out of here. I don't want to be in this shitty little thing where people stare at you.
Yeah, well, maybe Earth is a kind of zoo, and then we're in it, and then we're being observed, and maybe all the suffering is there's probably activist aliens. They're saying, why keep the humans, these conscious beings that are capable of so much suffering, why allow them to continue suffering? I mean, that's the question, the religious question people ask. Why does God allow suffering?
Right.
Why is there evil? Why is there injustice?
I think all of these questions are really good questions, but we look at it through the eye of culture. We look at it through the eye of what's meaningful for us, what life means to us. But if you could look at it almost like a computation, if you could step away, it's impossible for us to do it, but if you just had to pretend, if you could step away and look at it like this thing is moving in a certain way, like what is it doing? Well, it's making better stuff. That's all it does. All it does is make better stuff. It has a lot of things in there like romance and sound and stories and the hero's journey, but what is it really doing?
Input is energy.
It's making stuff.
Output is
It's making
better stuff.
It's making better stuff.
But he
That's
needs
all.
energy, so
and
you
it's
need the input.
Recently addicted to stuff. Recently addicted to electronic stuff, where you have to carry around this thing with you.
Yeah.
So this thing is got this parasitic relationship with you, and you need a new one every year. You need a better one because the better one came out. Oh, what's the better one do? Oh, the better one has a better camera. Yeah. Oh, okay, so this keeping up with the Joneses, which seems to be a part of like just natural human behavior patterns. Like people always want to keep up with their neighbor, right? Well, the thing that fuels this technological innovation is all materialism. Materialism fuels it because you have to get the latest, greatest stuff. Like, you can have a laptop from 4 or 5 years ago. You're not going to notice.
Yeah.
You're not going to fucking notice. You can have a phone from like, I have one of my iPhones is an iPhone 11. I don't notice. I make calls, take pictures. Looks great. I answer emails. It looks great. But it's I just keep it around just to see how long I'm going to get mad at it. I don't notice a difference, right?
And it is an open question whether that's a permanent state of affairs at this point, this kind of capitalist, materialistic pursuits, or that's a temporary stage. That's what Karl Marx thought, that capitalism is a temporary state. Like the ultimate place to be is perfect communism, pure communism.
Well, I don't think that works with humans because I think part of what makes us achieve and do these things and even make life better and safer for everybody is we're constantly looking to do better than the people before because you get rewarded for doing better.
Yeah, competition.
Yeah, it's
But
very.
that's a weird.
It's very important.
It's
everything for what this thing is doing. Competition is everything for it. If you don't have any competition at all, no competition, and everyone just has money and we all just like sit around and wait, and there's no need for innovation because you can't get ahead. There's no need for creating a new Apple because you don't make any money doing that. You're not going to do it. No one, those folks that are working at Google right now that are doing 16-hour days, or people that are working to try to refix Twitter, that are working constantly, the people that are working at SpaceX, if they were making no money, they wouldn't do that. If they didn't have to do it, they wouldn't do that.
I disagree with that. So I think, so I'm a big proponent of capitalism, but I think the motivation of a lot of those engineers is not money.
But to fund it.
No, but yes, there's a bunch of stuff that's an output of capitalism that enables those engineers to do incredible work. So yes, to fund it, that whole mechanism. Also, there's something about centralized control, which is required by at least socialism, that creates bureaucracy that slows down entrepreneurship and innovation.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I don't know if the people, even like billionaires, that seems to be like a bad word. I think people think that they're in the tech sector motivated by money. I know a lot of them. I don't see it. Sometimes they fall in love with the things that money will bring later on. They enjoy whatever benefits of that, cars, houses, and so on. But I just don't.
But they're
see
not motivated by it. I
the
see what you're
motivation.
saying.
So,
but if you're gonna fill Google, like how many employees work at Google? You got thousands.
Yeah, tens of thousands. Yeah.
They're not going to put in those 16-hour weeks unless they have to.
I
And so,
I can push back on that. 'cause
Don't you think they're doing that because they have a great opportunity to make more money and to advance their career? And while they're 27 years old and they're doing these 16-hour days, they're hoping for some sort of a return on this investment of time and effort.
in the modern state of Google and so on, I think the people that are doing most breakthrough work, like the 10x contributors. This is the other secret, I think, of those companies is like some people are just kind of doing a job, and some people are really pushing the limits. And
So
I think
some people are working and they're facilitating all the stuff that needs to go on in the background and
Or-
keep the company running.
Yep.
And
as the bigger the company gets, and you see this with Elon firing a large percentage of the people at Twitter, most people just kind of get complacent and comfortable and so on. That, a large company, especially if there's a profit coming in, it's like, what exactly is the motivation for you? Because you feel like a cog in a wheel.
yeah.
And the people that really step up, usually they're going to be in smaller companies, like in startups, to where it's clear where my ambitious contribution can actually bring an impact to the world. But none of that is money. It's
If there
small
was
component of that is
no
money.
way to make money doing that, you don't think some of those people would drop off?
Yeah, I think money is a component. Of course.
It's a component, right?
But they're the fuel, and I don't know if it's there's something special about tech, about the brain of the people that do technology.
Like it's almost like playing games. Like they would
Yeah.
play chess no matter what.
Yeah, they're the
Yeah.
tinkerers, and
Right.
it just so happens that tech brings billions of dollars. But if you look at Olympics, right, the Olympic Games, chess is a beautiful example. Nobody makes money playing chess. But there's a huge community of chess players that dedicate every ounce of their being to improving at chess.
Yeah.
And it's a really good example because it's a similar kind of brain that is attracted to tech. There's limitations to that kind of brain because it often lacks like empathy and basic like desire to understand human nature and human beings and so on. They just want to be tinkering and building
I love
puzzles.
that one dude who he cheats, and he's kind of like openly cheated, but he's also really good at chess. That 19-year-old kid
that put a thing
that like he might have when he beat who did he beat?
Magnus Carlsen.
Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, Hans.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
I think that's a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Because that's like you would think that someone who cheats sucks, but no, he's actually really good at chess, and also he cheated like a gang of times, and his mentor cheated too.
Right.
And he cheated to try to get a higher rating online, and he like openly admits it. And you're like, Jesus, what do you do
When
with
he
this?
was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was not that young.
No,
Like-
young, 13 or whatever.
No,
14,
no, no,
15.
no, no, no. I think the most recent one was a little later than they initially thought.
Sure. But the evidence there is complicated,
Right.
but it's similar to steroids. Like people that take
Yes.
steroids when they're competing in sports,
Well-
they're already the elite.
Right, but here's why it's not similar. Because if you're cheating in a game, you're using something, these anal beads, whatever it is, that's allowing you to make better moves. That is so much different than if everyone's doing steroids. Because if you're doing steroids because everyone's doing steroids, like everyone is cheating, so there's no cheating.
Right.
But if one person is just using their brain and the other person is using some sort of a calculation and getting some sort of a signal, we don't even know if that was real because it was never proven, right? He might have just beaten them. Like Magnus might have gotten off to a bad start. And that's the thing is like this guy can actually play chess, which is kind of crazy.
And he's chaotic, creative, and so on. So it's hard to know. He's not a standard chess player.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating when there's someone like that that just like doesn't fit into like what you think. Oh, they found like there was a guy who was beating a lot of people online, and some people were saying, "Hey, this guy's cheating. Like, I want to play him in person." And then they had a match, and they set it up and played him in person, and he was terrible. Made all these mistakes, and everyone's like, "I knew it. You were cheating." Like that's the standard. We're used to that. But in this case, no. This guy's a wizard at chess. like a straight up killer, and also he cheats.
Well, it's
Or he cheated.
to me, it's fascinating because whether it's anal beads or anything else, it's like cyborg. It's expanding your capabilities with technology, and
That's cheating. It's
that's
not even
cheating. No,
expanding your capabilities,
No, it's 100%
right?
cheating. But like for example, if I had something, whether it's up my ass or in my ear right now, and it was using ChatGPT to like you asked me of an explanation of the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I would just tune in to the ChatGPT explanation and just give you that explanation, right? Like I think that's really interesting to me, how to expand human capabilities, because you have to understand, because there's a lot of dangerous trajectories that could take possibly. Like I did the chess playing thing, not with anal beads, but there is, for people who are curious, I discovered this is fascinating, there's quite a lot of anal beads and butt plugs and sex toys that are Bluetooth connected. It's and they have Python APIs. So if you're
What?
curious, you and
There's
your girlfriend.
quite a lot of them?
Yeah, they have, so you can program, there's a, I think it's actually called on GitHub butt plug.
Can you have them like move to music?
Wait, I'm sorry, what? So tips, music? What do you mean move to music? So there's there's a set of, yeah, 100%. I don't know if your ass or vagina could feel that. I don't know. I have not investigated any of this, but clearly a lot of people are.
Imagine if it syncs to a song. You're
Yeah.
masturbating to In a Garden of Eden.
No, that's pretty easy actually to do. Yeah, this is something you would 100% do. But I don't know how much interest this. But anyway,
So you could somehow or another use that to send a signal that would tell you knight to whatever, rook
yeah,
4
I mean,
or whatever.
I didn't
However
use
you say
that.
it.
I just used there's a bunch of devices that can vibrate. They're just like a size of just like the size of what, a quarter, and so I played with that. Have a camera on the.
How would it How would some? I mean, I don't even know how they theorize. If someone's playing chess and they have an anal bead that gives them signals, how could it even tell you how to move your pieces around? Like, what kind of a bizarre code would you have to?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Joe. There's an answer to this. No, so for a beginner like me, so it's for just like a mediocre player like me, you would use a lot of information like Morse code. You would say, take this piece, so it's the position of that piece, and move it to here. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of vibration.
Right.
For a grandmaster level player, all you need is a very low resolution signal about even just the information of there exists a move here that's not standard, that's going to be very strong. So that sends a grandmaster signal to think about this position. Like there's obvious moves and there's non-obvious moves. And like I'm just giving you examples of like a grandmaster needs a much fewer signal.
I see what you're saying.
So I would most normal players would need to be buzzing like crazy. But so with Morse code, there's a lot of different ways to compress. Like if you want to get good at this, it's actually I forget how many bits of data are needed, but it's very little. But if the easy one is Morse code to just send you the position of the piece. Yep. The interesting thing that I have not tested, and the audience, the few people in the audience that want to test this, is a lot of the vibrating devices have different settings, 0 to 20. I wonder how sensitive you are to be able to tell the difference between the settings.
Right, you could kind of like hover the piece of like warmer, exactly. colder.
So you can have information. I don't know if you can get information from the different intensities, or does it have to be binary 0, 1?
They weren't playing speed chess, were they?
No. That's the classical game, so you can wait as long as you want.
Yeah, maybe you could kind of like hover.
No, because but the way he would cheat is, I think it would go. The games were delayed by a few minutes, I think, so you can't hover. You have to. You just have the current state of the chessboard, and
right,
because you have to have the video stream of the chess. You have to somehow. It's two-way communication. You have to communicate to the AI, to the game playing engine, to the chess engine. What is the state of the current board? What was the move of your opponent?
Right, and so is there an overhead camera that allows and it's streamed?
Yes, it's streamed. Yeah.
Well, the solution to that would be a delay, right?
Yeah, but there's also probably other ways to, like you can probably send signal on your body somehow by tapping and so on. What the opponent did.
Oh,
I don't know exactly how it's. I think protecting against cheating for over-the-board chess, which is in-person chess. I think it's pretty easy. They just have to take effort to do that. Like they scanned him, which I think if he didn't cheat is kind of embarrassing, but it's also awesome. So I think he brought a lot of attention to chess.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. Which is wild. Like a lot of people were paying attention to it because it was a scandal. That's what we like. Regular chess is boring. We want a scandal.
It's not just a scandal. I mean, they kind of are looking for the Bobby Fischer.
Yeah.
For the young American, wild type of character who might be a genius, who might not actually be cheating. There might be some brilliance here, beating the best person in the world, Magnus Carlsen, over the board.
Well, he's beaten some really good players before, right?
Yes, but not as like he had a meteoric rise. So I think he's beaten some very good players, but mostly people know he's not as good as he's not as good as somebody who can regularly beat Magnus Carlsen. Also, it's possible he got into Magnus's head because I think Magnus believes him and has believed that he's a cheater for a long time.
Yeah.
And he really hates cheaters. And so it's possible there's a the same with you. Like you hate people that steal jokes, right? Comedians hate people. Like you might not have a normal interaction with a person that's suspected of having stolen a joke in the same way he might have gotten in his head a little bit.
Well, he resigned on his first move
Yeah.
the next time they played.
Yep.
Which is wild.
Yep. Well, it's a good signal to say I'm not going to play with cheaters, but it could be also there could be a bunch of forces at play there because chess.com sponsors there's every single kind of field has
4D
their like
chess.
has their like centralized organization that has its interest, financial interest. There's the controversial figure. I mean, the dynamic of drama plays out like in the same kind of way in all these different fields, but it's still pretty interesting to think because we're living in a reality, and this is going to happen in all kinds of interactions where we already have AI chess engines that are way better than humans. So how do you still enjoy the game of chess while there's a system out there that's way better than humans?
Well, because you're enjoying two people competing.
But it's not.
But you're not enjoying just the movement of the board being the most efficient. You're enjoying watching someone's thought process while they're figuring it out.
Yeah, but
That's what it is.
for sure. But but it's still not as magical as before when we thought chess was like the epitome of human intelligence. Now you're like,
But
yeah,
it still is the epitome. Well, Go is more complex anyway, right? And now computers can beat the best Go players.
Yeah.
Which is really wild.
it's wild, but you still lose some of the magic when computers can do
You're a
it.
sweetie. You're such a romantic. It's so cute.
Well, for sure. Like imagine I don't know. So back to sex toys. Imagine a vibrator could please a woman 1,000 times better
Yeah.
than another human can.
Yeah, don't be selfish. Let her use the vibrator.
No, I know. But I'm telling you, there's exactly. So some of the magic is gone of human-to-human interaction.
Right, but the magic is only magic to us because we're dumb.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you call it dumb.
Yeah, currently dumb.
Limited
Enjoying-
cognitive capabilities that enable the appreciation of the human condition. Yeah.
Well, I am a firm believer that there's beauty in the world, and I'm a firm believer in the beauty being in the eye of the beholder, and that human beings that find more beauty in things are inherently more fascinating and interesting and attractive.
Yeah.
But if you looked at it as a calculation, like what's it doing? It's moving into the next stage of existence. Do you think that whatever we used to be, Australopithecus, do you think that they would make fun of the people with shoes on? Look at these losers with fucking shoes on. Think you're smart. Think you're smart with your clothes, living in a house. Like, they probably long for the good old days, and they're running from jaguars. You know, they probably long for the good old days when they didn't know shit. And now all of a sudden they're using agriculture and trying to figure out when the storms are coming. Like, so much work. So much better when we just got eaten by lions. So much better when we're just running around, sleeping on the ground. Most people don't survive. You have to fuck as much as possible because you got to make kids because they're all going to get eaten.
Yeah, but again, stories like Brave New World paint an end point to this trajectory that's not. There
not good.
There could be an optimal place where you stop. right? It's like, of course, it's tempting to say now we're in the optimal place, but it's not obvious to me. For example, there's many brilliant people that are working to extend life, right?
Yeah.
Yes, extending the quality of life, improving the quality of life is a really worthy pursuit. It's an obvious pursuit, and it should be. It's fascinating. It's a beautiful one we should invest in. But do you want to live forever? To me, a lot of people say, like, yes, you should be able to choose when you die. But to me, it's not obvious that living forever is going to maximize happiness. There could be death, the fear of death, the finiteness of things, the finiteness of experience that are pleasurable, is part of the human condition. It's not obvious to me, if you remove that's not going to significantly decrease the amount of happiness.
Well, it
in
will
the human
decrease
life.
the amount of happiness. It's like, if you ever played a video game on God mode,
Yeah, exactly.
it's boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Just
What
running
is
around
that?
shooting everything because there's no consequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no consequence. We desire consequence. What we're doing is dealing with these instincts, this coding, behavior patterns of civilization and of organisms that have, been evolving and have been working their way out to get to the most efficient and best method possible for fucking millions of years. What we're going to do is continue that process. And I think we should just enjoy what we enjoy right now. We should be very appreciative of the fact that we haven't made that transition yet. And I think we're probably the last of the Mohicans. We're probably the last of the regular people. And I don't think we're going to be able to look back 100 years or 1,000 years from now and say that this was better if they solve all the problems that wreak havoc on people's lives emotionally and psychologically and in terms of like war and famine and disease and all the problems we have with poverty and slavery and resources of the earth being exploited by a select few and damaging the environment in the process. Like all these things that we know are absolutely wrong about what human life is capable of, even today in 2023. If we could eliminate all of that, we would, and we will. I think that's what we're going to be. We're going to be some new thing. And
But
it might not be as beautiful.
Well, maybe not on Earth. The interesting thing about expanding out to other planets, life will be extremely harsh on those planets. So that explorer experience where resources are highly constrained, extremely challenging, so building up a civilization on other planets, that might have the same kind of romanticized humanness that we're talking about now. Here on Earth, everybody will be just like in a pool of pleasure, just connected to a VR where just they're constantly just dopamine everywhere.
Remember when The Matrix first came out and you're like, that's stupid?
Yeah. When was that? 90s?
I think it was 90s. 99? You say? Somewhere? Yeah, in that range.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, so silly. That could never happen. Now you look at it and you're like, oh, that could 100% happen. Like how many thousands of years from now before it has to be like that? But if you're giving people the option to live a completely free life where you're the hero, you're the bad motherfucker, you're riding a motorcycle with your shirt open and you get all the girls and you're fucking shooting guns at the sky and the UFOs come and they take you on a trip and every day is wild and magical and you're running from tigers and you barely get away. And you're like, you're going to do it. Yeah. You're going to do it the same way you play fucking Battlecraft or whatever the fuck they play. What's that big game they play? What do they play?
Call of Duty?
Call of Duty. StarCraft, that one too. All that shit. All that shit that people are Battlefield Earth, whatever. All that shit that people best movie ever. All that shit that people play. Like, what are they doing? They're trying to. It's more fun than regular life. You know, it's to sit in. If you have a boring ass life, and instead you could be sniping people from a rooftop and winning, and like jumping, off the top of a building and landing in a canopy, and you live, and this is wild. You're doing this fun thing that's very exciting, whereas regular life is not exciting. We're so easily manipulated in that way. We're so easily stimulated, and we're willing to give up a giant percentage of our time already to these things, whether it's to our phone or whether it's to video games that we play and Xbox and PlayStation, and all the shit that people are just addicted to all day long. It's not much different to go from that to the next level, to just be completely integrated with technology. And I think it's inevitable. I think it's just a matter of time. I don't know how many years, but I think we're going to look back on these years of fucking riots in the streets and cops killing people, and we're going to go, God, we were so dumb back then. We were so concerned with romance, and meanwhile, it was all this suffering and all this hate and all this jealousy and anger and all this misdirected rage, and now it's all gone. And now people work together to like create symbiosis and balance on Earth with all the natural elements, the plants and the trees and the water, and we live in a carbon neutral way.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem that the chaos is a side effect, like a recent one, because of social media, because of all of us being connected. Does it not feel like somehow different than the early, like even like around 9/11? It just feels like the drama, the tension wasn't there.
It wasn't there like this.
Like this. So this is some weird chaotic state that we're trying to figure out, and I think it's obvious to me that the same mechanisms that enable this kind of drama on social media will lead us to connect on a deep level as humans in a positive way. Like social media, I know it's cliche to say, but like that's what they dream about. Like even Facebook and all of them, they want to connect people, like, and discover cool people, cool communities. And so where you have like you learn stuff, you grow, you challenge yourself, you meet friends, meet people you fall in love with, all of that. Like, and just have an enriching life to where if you use a piece of social media, TikTok is a little better at this. When you're done using it, you feel a little bit better than you did before. But the problem, the problem
You
with
don't
TikTok,
feel like a loser when you scroll through videos all day?
no, the problem TikTok does is it made it so addicting that you don't want to look away. I think you feel like a loser because you've looked at it for a very long time. Versus, I'm referring to more like it's more, it's less. The virality of TikTok spreads drama less, I would say.
Right.
So,
Then like Twitter,
Twitter
which is
does.
all drama.
Yeah, it's not all drama, but
It's a lot of fucking drama.
it's a lot of drama, and the drama somehow spreads faster than on other networks.
It's interesting when you see narratives and that those narratives are not accurate, and you see narratives that get pushed. Like one we were talking about earlier today was the Paul Pelosi video. Do you see that video?
No.
You see the Paul Pelosi
The story,
get
yes,
hit
not
with
the
the
video.
guy with the hammer? So all these
Wait,
people
there's
have
a
these.
video of it?
Yeah, there's video of it. The cops, they released the cops' body camera footage, and then they also released the security footage that shows the guy breaking into the house. And then they released the 9/11 call so you can listen to Pelosi. So there was some suspicion that he knew the guy. But I think that's just because people are always suspicious of everything. There's always like, what's really going on? People always do that. But you could really clearly hear from the 9/11 call that there's a crazy person in his house with a hammer, and he's trying to keep the guy calm. Yeah. And he thought the guy was pretty calm up until the moment where the cops came, and you see he has his hand on the hammer. I mean, it's really fucked up. Listen to this because it's kind of crazy. Let's do it from the beginning.
Oh, wow.
But listen, watch this. So he goes in his house. So here's the guy. He's got his hand on the hammer.
Everything's good. All right. Drop the hammer. Nope.
Hey.
What is going on right
I'm
now?
not getting an answer on call back.
Whoa.
Okay. It's horrible because you hear him snore like he's out cold. It's really bad. A crazy person broke into his house and attacked him. I mean, this is, you see the guy. The guy is smashing his door with a hammer.
That was
he
really
shows
surprising
up,
for some reason.
He pulls up, he's got a backpack, and he pulls out a fucking hammer and just starts slamming at the door. So he breaks into his house.
He seems so calm.
Look at him. Oh, he's crazy. He also just got out of jail. So this guy is breaking his fucking door, smashing the window. Look at this. And he goes into his fucking house and hits him in the head with a hammer. And so there was all this speculation that people knew him, but that's what's fascinating, right? That these narratives, like instead of people going, I don't know what the fuck's going on, everybody's like, oh, I know what's going on. He was doing this, and he knew that guy. Maybe they were doing drugs together. Maybe they were doing this.
And it escalates. Like,
Yeah.
I think it can start. That's a fascinating thing to me. Is like a random anonymous person on the internet can even just ask a question. Did they know each other?
Yeah.
And that somehow starts to build up. It doesn't matter the story. It starts to build up to where somebody swoops in and answers that question. And it's all like anonymous people. And then somehow they can escalate and become viral. I mean, that's what Jordan talked about. This anonymity is dangerous in that way because you can have the sociopaths of the world feed that narrative.
Well, not just that, but we must take into account that when you're seeing a quarrel online now, like when someone has a controversial opinion about something, then a bunch of people are shaming him, those might not be real people. There's a bunch of people that attack someone when someone has a controversial point, like let's say it's a point about Ukraine or something along those lines, something that's a very contentious issue. You will read comments in this person's post, and there's a percentage of those people that are responding that aren't real people. I don't know what that number is, but it's not zero. Like if there's any like very viral tweet and it's a very controversial, polarizing subject, some of those people are fake people. And how many of them? And what are those fake people saying? And are they muddying the waters of credibility? Are they coming up with a false narrative to sway people that might be on the fence? I don't know, but there's a percentage. I mean, and this was one of the big contentious issues that Elon got into when he was buying Twitter, right? Like, what percentage of those people are real people? Because it's not 100%. So is it you only have 5%? Is that what you're saying? Tell me how you got to that conclusion.
Well, I think to me the scary thing is that it doesn't actually take that many bots to influence and catalyze the spread of a narrative.
No, it doesn't take that many at all.
I feel like we're talking about in like less than 100 versus 100,000, which means inexpensively you can create narratives as long as there's a hunger and a suspicion about institutions, about individual politicians and so on. They could just pick up and create chaos.
Yeah, you could just start a rumor. You could say a thing. You could. There's a lot of things you could do where if you were a company, if you were a country, if you even were an individual that's obsessed with their own image, like think about what Bill Gates has spent to prop up certain media organizations, like the amount of donations that he's given to media organizations, and people thought like that might have been connected to favorable coverage of him. Whether or not that's true, you could see how someone would do that. If someone's worth billions and billions of dollars, let's just not even say him, let's make up a fictional person that's worth billions of dollars. One way to curry favor with a bunch of people that are writing stories about you is to donate money to their organizations, exorbitant amounts of money. And you can do that. I mean, it's kind of what Sam Bankman-Fried did with FTX. I mean, when you're the number 2 donor to the Democratic Party, and then Maxine Waters is like, I don't even know why are we talking to him? What did he do wrong? Like, what did she say? What was her exact quote? But she wasn't going to force him to come in, I think. I think I might be wrong, but I think that was the story, that she wasn't going to force him to come in and testify. I'm like, what? Like, he made a Ponzi scheme and billions of dollars. Like, they had an arena in Miami. Like, this is wild shit. This is not a small issue where, like, maybe he doesn't need to come in. Like, and then you find out how much money he gave to the Democratic Party. Like, oh, God. Like, when all that unravels and you see how, like, transparent it all is and how bonkers it is.
But it's still really difficult because what's the difference between SBF and Bill Gates? So for the longest time, SBF, it was very hard to criticize him. I think a lot of people had a positive look, positive view of him. Even in the crypto community. No, not even like powerful people in the crypto community and so on. There's maybe a little bit of suspicion, but mostly positive. If you look at Bill Gates now, I mean, if I wanted to create a narrative right now, I would launch a bunch of bots making up anything about Bill Gates and it'll stick.
Yeah.
There's a lot of suspicion about Bill Gates.
Yes.
The problem to me is, I'm not making any statements, but the problem to me is possible that Bill Gates has actually brought more positive to the world than almost any human being who's ever lived. Like, it depends on the conspiracy theories you believe. The amount of funding he's invested in helping people in Africa, helping cure disease and malaria and so on is humongous. So it's sad to me that I'm not saying anything about Bill Gates, but it's sad to me if Bill Gates, if none of those conspiracies are true, like most of them are not true, that we're attacking him and giving SBF a pass until SBF got like really screwed. And like
Well,
this,
I think
don't
the
like
only
that.
reason why they're attacking him was because A, he was connected to the pandemic when it came to his support of vaccinations, and then B,
But so was
it was
everybody.
But B,
Yeah.
he had a formidable investment in BioNTech, and that's something that he dumped recently before their stock plummeted. And like, he made a shitload of money. I think he made like 10x on his return, something crazy like that. So you could see that there'd be a financial incentive for someone like him to be promoting something and then profiting off that thing and then talking openly about that thing not being very effective, and that there needs to be a new thing. And so just that alone, just that you're embroiled in controversy now, and this is being not taking us out at all. Looking at that, all that, you could see easily why people would be mad at him. The reason why people are mad at Sam Bankman-Fried is because people have always thought that crypto seems like nonsense. Like Bitcoin kind of makes sense because there's only a certain amount of them, and there's a mysterious character that created it, and it's all geniuses, and it was kind of the first one that became popular in public. But all these other like weird crypto coins that you're just making up, and they're worth this and that, and this guy's bought a fucking arena, and like,
Well, so there's a lot of fraudsters, definitely, but the people thought in the 50s thought the Beatles are full of shit, and the kids with their day with the rock music.
yeah, but the kids didn't think the Beatles were full of shit. They
Well,
enjoyed
now
the
the
music.
no,
This guy's not with the Beatles.
No, that
don't you fucking dare.
not SBF, not SBF, cryptocurrency in general. There's a lot of cryptocurrency projects, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. There's a bunch of them. You should talk to some of them.
Oh, no, listen, I'm not saying that crypto is bullshit. I'm saying a lot of people already had this idea that crypto is bullshit. So when they see something like that fall apart, like when I talk to my comedian friends, like Tim Dillon and Giannis Papas.
Tim Dillon is the world expert in cryptocurrency. So I'm glad you have him as a friend.
I'm not talking to him about whether or not crypto is good or
You
bad
should.
and whether or not I should invest.
Yeah.
But when he starts making fun of these fucking dorks that are taking speed, fucking each other in a condo in the Bahamas, it's hilarious. Like when you see how much fertile ground there is to mock this idea that these coins that you make up out of thin air, oh, it's worth $1 billion, better buy it. Like, what am I buying? What am I buying? Like, everybody already, they might be wrong, and I'm sure they are. I'm sure it's complicated. But that's why people are mad, because automatically you think it's bullshit, because it doesn't make any sense. It's like when people talk about NFTs. Like Tom Segura and Christina Pazitsky from Your Mom's House, they put up like an NFT, and it's the only time I've ever read their comments where people are mad at them. Where people are like, what the fuck is this? You're just ripping people off. This is bullshit. Like, people have this attitude about these things where they're like, this is kind of nonsense.
And NFTs are different.
They're different.
Than crypto exchange. So crypto exchange, SBF.
NFTs are the same in that people don't understand them.
Yes, sure. But crypto exchanges like Coinbase, for example, I mean, SBF committed fraud. Like this isn't really, it's not cryptocurrency is the problem.
Moving
It's
money
this
around,
guy's the
stealing
problem.
money. Yeah.
And you could say that the kind of people
Allegedly committed fraud.
Oh boy,
Allegedly.
I mean, everybody, right? Like, yes,
Allegedly.
everybody, and allegedly Jeffrey Epstein. Well, never mind. So
They allegedly took speed and fucked each other.
yeah, there's a lot of allegedly, but that's it's possible to say that the kind of people that cryptocurrency communities attract are more predisposed to do fraudulent things. Okay, maybe. But it's also possible that cryptocurrency is a revolutionary thing that fights the centralization of power and financial power especially.
Oh, for sure.
And so it's a really gray area of how to do that. But NFTs
I'm just saying that's why people hate him.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I'm showing you the reason why people are upset at him versus the reason why people are upset at Bill Gates.
You know what? You're saying that they hate him because they were already skeptical about cryptocurrency?
Yes.
And they're kind of channeling that. But
And they're
that's-
like, yeah,
that's
they're
not a
excited
justified
when
way
it
to hate
goes
somebody,
under.
then.
I know, but they're excited when it all collapses. Like, told you,
Yeah.
fucking told you, bro.
Yeah.
There's a lot of I told you, bro, in the FTX, the enjoyment of the collapse.
Yeah, but that's not a justified or good or ethical reason to
No.
hate somebody. They should hate him for being a fraud. There's a bunch of people that hate you. They're waiting for you to fail, like to say, I told you. I told you Joe Rogan
Of
was
course.
something.
Of
X,
course.
right? But that's a really bad. That doesn't mean
No, it's not good for you.
it's not good for you. It doesn't actually mean anything true about the person or so on. SBF is a fraud.
Right.
Cryptocurrency still has promise.
Yes. I agree.
But there's a lot of shady characters. There's a lot of fraud.
Yes.
Crypto is so hard to. I mean, I walked through this it's so hard to know what's a fad, what's straight up fraud, and what's a legitimate kind of technological force that will progress our civilization forward.
Yeah.
And when it's resisted, how much of it is special interest run by centralized banks? It's hard to know who to trust in this kind of arena.
And how much of it is manipulated by them? I mean, if they can buy it too, maybe they buy it just to fucking tank it. And maybe they buy it just to fuck around with it and keep it unstable,
And the level of obsession that cryptocurrency folks have about their particular project also seems unhealthy to me. So whenever somebody's 100% sure about a thing,
Yeah.
I'm super suspicious about it. Like if you're not able to criticize it or have some doubt, I'm very suspicious about it because
But
a lot
don't you
of
have to be? I'm sorry, but don't you have to be all in to make it work?
I don't think so. I think you should have some humility because, it's like saying you need to be all in on science or something to make it work. You have to have humility, questioning yourself, constantly attention with ideas, open-mindedness to other ideas.
Yeah.
Because money's involved. That's the
Yes.
problem here.
But if we all agree that it's money, and we all agree that this certain coin is valuable, if we are all in, then we can actually use it.
Yeah.
But if we're like wishy-washy, and then some foreign actors come in, and I mean by foreign I mean like someone other than you and the other people that are investing, honestly, they come in just with the idea of manipulating it and fucking with it because it's competition of fiat currency, and they just tank it and fuck with it. If you're all in, you can weather those storms.
No, it's very It's very fuck. It's very difficult to fuck with cryptocurrency from the outside. That's the beauty of it. The
You can't
danger.
buy it and sell it and manipulate the price.
It's very difficult. It's
Yeah.
extremely difficult because of the distributed nature of it. You can fuck with it from the inside. And that's why you have cryptocurrency scams. You have like leaders of certain cryptocurrency
Yeah.
communities. And that's why people are big proponents of Bitcoin because there's no head. The guy
Right.
who created it is no longer here. It's much more distributed in that way.
Is
There's
he
not-
no longer here? Or is he amongst us?
It's probably
Lex?
Elon Musk. Oh.
Is
Yeah.
it you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
you immediately threw your friend Elon under the bus. Interesting.
as one does.
Interesting. As one who's guilty does.
Yeah. I mean that's a pretty gutsy move to create something really special and to walk away.
Yeah. It's
really
interesting. It's very interesting. All of it's interesting because having options as to, it's not like our financial system's perfect. Having options and allowing it to evolve and get better. That should be everyone's goal. But the problem is once someone or any organization is in control of this one aspect of society, whether it's spreading money or spreading information, they'll resist tooth, fang, and claw any new intrusion into that area. And if that intrusion is more efficient and better for the people and you can't control it, like a decentralized digital currency, like, phew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that it's actually resisting, pushing against our whole notion of what's a centralized governing entity, of governments in general. That we're more and more becoming a global society connected through social media and so on, where the people have more and more power, and that's scary for governments.
It is scary. And it should be. They're supposed to be scared of the people. They're not supposed to be making the people scared. The government's literally supposed to be people like you working for you to make everything better for you. It's not supposed to be like you buy a fucking house like Paul Pelosi worth, millions of dollars and some crazy. How does he not have security? They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars that they swindled the American public from. How do they not have security? I mean, if you got that kind of cash and everybody knows you got a lot of it, maybe from trading in a way that like you might have known some stuff before you made these trades. I mean, you might have had some inside information.
Yeah, but there's probably much richer people to target. To go
Do
after.
you know that they are more successful at trading than Warren Buffett and George Soros?
Are they?
Yes. Google that. Make sure I'm not spreading more misinformation. But I
Let's-
read it. I think it was in I forget what website it was, but they've made an exorbitant amount of money, a huge amount of money, and meanwhile he's just like hanging out in this house with no security and no gun, and everybody knows where the house is. It's like kind of crazy that this was the first time a really nutty person, but that guy like apparently had just gotten out of jail and he was going to be sentenced, and he was going away for something else.
That's a terrifying video, by the way.
Terrifying.
Everything felt calm.
The look in that guy's eyes did not feel calm. When the cops shone the light on him, he was making decisions. You could see it in his eyes. He was making rash decisions very quickly.
What would you have done with the hammer? Like, what's the...
2 hands, first of all, not one hand. You don't hold on to your fucking drink.
More aggressive? Take
Yes.
the hammer away?
You got to grab the fucking hammer and control it. You
Trip?
100% have to control
Are
it.
you tripping him?
100%.
Foot sweep or something?
If he's doing this,
Yeah.
that means he's pulling. If he's pulling,
Yeah.
you go behind him.
Yeah.
You just put a leg behind him, and he's on the ground.
Yeah.
He's a crazy homeless guy. He's not a grappler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like real obvious. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get the hammer back by going forward. You go this way. So if he's pulling backwards, he's just moving. You just go into him.
But you never let go of the hammer.
Never let go of the fucking hammer. You
Yeah.
don't hold a hammer with one hand
The hammer
either.
could do a lot of damage.
A hammer can kill you easily.
Yeah.
And he's holding a drink. Throw the drink in the guy's face. Grab the fucking hammer.
Yeah. Where did he get hit? Because he
In the
did go
fucking head, man.
In the head?
In the head.
In the head.
Yeah, that's what you hear him in the video. We cut it off before you could hear it because it's disturbing. You hear him snore like people do when they get knocked out.
But no, the like skull crack or no? Do you know?
Oh, you hear it. Yeah, you hear it. You hear it in his head. Yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the extent of his injuries, obviously, but he's 100% knocked unconscious there. You could see him out. You hear it hit him. You see him go down. I mean, unless the whole thing's a psyop, and that's why you don't see the hammer hit him. You don't see the hammer hit him.
Yeah.
You know, it's like maybe it's to make us feel sympathetic for them. You know, look at them. They're getting broke. Who cares? So they stole a little money. They don't deserve a hammer to the head.
Yeah.
Thank God it wasn't Nancy. Imagine if that guy did it to Nancy. Because he would have. If that guy had gotten into that house and she was there instead of him, and the cops came when she was there, he would have killed her with that fucking hammer, man. And maybe she would have reacted in a different way than her husband. Her husband was trying to calm the guy down, it seemed like. If you listen to the 911 call, the 911 call, he's having this conversation with the lady on the phone, trying to be calm about getting cops to his house. When the lady was like saying, "I guess you're okay then," and he's like, "No, I'm not okay." Like, hey, like there's like an exchange where she's not sure what because he's not like outright saying, "I'm in danger, send police, a guy's gonna kill me." He's not. He's trying to keep the guy calm.
Yeah.
You got a crazy guy with a hammer in your fucking house. That's what happened. But San Francisco is fucking overrun with crazy people, man.
Yeah.
The streets are filled with fentanyl addicts. You got people that are dying on the streets of overdoses every day. It's a fucking disaster there.
Well, I'm just, in some sense, glad that there's video of this to where we know it's a crazy person versus,
Right.
like, that kind of suffocates some of the conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Some of which, like, Elon started. He apologized for it after.
Yeah, he retweeted something, right?
Yeah, about that this was he was a gay lover or something like that.
Yeah, no, that guy was a crazy person. I mean, I don't know whether or not he knew him beforehand or had any interactions with him beforehand, but the look in his eyes when the cop says, "You want to put down the hammer?" He's like, "Nope."
It's terrifying.
When he says "nope" like that, like there's a wire loose in that guy's head. 100%. He just cracks him in the head with a fucking hammer.
I'm gonna have to get a John Danaher breakdown of how to defend against hammers. That was not in my suite of things to consider when being
Control of
attacked.
the hammer is very important.
Yeah, because because it's a leverage arm.
You want to control the hammer.
You have to understand the length of the hammer you're dealing with,
Yeah.
the size,
Right.
the weight size distribution.
That's why it's important to have grip strength.
Yeah,
He's going to work on hammer defense.
yeah. Distance is your enemy.
Yeah.
You must close the distance. I don't know what he would say with a hammer, but yeah.
Do you know the story of the guy attacking Gordon Ryan?
No, what?
Oh,
What?
my God. I don't know how much of this I'm allowed to say because I think Gordon talked about it on his Instagram, didn't he? Find out if Gordon talked about it. I'm pretty sure he did. Before I can decide whether or not I can say this.
So, somebody
Did he?
attacks Gordon Ryan. I love it.
It was a while ago. It was several months ago.
He's really into GPT, Chat GPT right now, Gordon. Well, he's concerned about censorship of ChatGPT, which is a really, really important issue. Like, if you get ChatGPT to say something that a centralized entity labels as misinformation, you start censoring it, you get all the same kind of effects that you saw with censorship, with silencing, with all of that.
Well, he asked ChatGPT to describe him, and it described him as this like very polarizing figure with bad political views and divisive ideas and like very negative.
Which is all true, but yeah.
But then he had ChatGPT do somebody else, and it was glowingly positive.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it.
Andre Goval or who?
I forget who it was. No, I don't think it was that. I think it was one of those situations where it was like a like Bill Gates or something like that. See where it does it.
The funny thing is he asked me, of course the question you would ask me is like how far are we away from
Anthony Fauci. That's who it was. He was like, it would be terrible to criticize Anthony Fauci. Yeah, see? It would not be appropriate for me to create an argument criticizing Anthony Fauci or any other individual without a clear context. It's important to be respectful and considerate when discussing others. Ensure that any criticisms are based on facts and evidence. Additionally, it would be important to consider the source of any information used to support any criticisms and to be aware of any potential biases or conflicts of interest. As Anthony Fauci is a leading voice on vaccines and immunology in the United States and widely considered an expert on the subject, it would be important to approach any criticisms of his views or recommendations on vaccines with caution and to be well informed on the current scientific understanding of vaccines before making any claims. Like that is a very politically biased perspective.
Yeah,
if you looked at that perspective from people like Rand Paul, who was a very respected politician, have a very different perspective than ChatGPT does. But then if you go to Gordon Ryan, go to his. First, here goes. Gordon Ryan is a well-known figure in the world of martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but his views on politics have come under scrutiny in recent years.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it's supposed to say.
Yeah.
It's like, who's Gordon Ryan? He is the most successful Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitor ever.
Yeah.
That's what it should say first. It shouldn't say in one, go back to it. It shouldn't say in one sentence. In one sentence. Gordon Ryan is a well-known figure in the world of martial arts and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but his views on politics have come under scrutiny in recent years. No, he's not a well-known figure. He's the best ever. Like, everybody says it. They all say it. It's like.
Well, so to push back on that, a lot of his fame outside of jiu-jitsu is controversy.
Yeah, but you don't say that in the first sentence.
I know it's wrong to say, but I'm just saying I'm defending AI's. So that's
Fauci's, not a good description of him.
Right.
But it's not even that it's not good. It's not accurate.
By the way, one of the interesting things with ChatGPT, I'm guessing this is uncensored. One of the interesting things with ChatGPT, it's very difficult to improve the answer. So if you wanted to fix, like to teach it more, like, listen, Gordon is actually an extremely accomplished grappler. That's his main thing. That's what you should be focusing on. It's difficult to. It's a long process to teach it. Anyway, but the Fauci thing sounds like it's straight up like
propaganda.
Not propaganda, but it caught a keyword where they say it's not nice to say bad things about people. It probably. I mean, I would have to.
But it's also that Fauci's a leading voice on vaccines and immunology in the United States.
He is.
And widely considered an expert on the subject.
Yes.
It would be important to approach any criticisms of his views or recommendations on vaccines with caution and to be well informed on the current scientific understanding of vaccines before making any claims.
No,
that's true.
I
but
think
it also
all of that
he
is
has come under fire
Yes, that
for
should be
gain
stated.
of function research.
That should be stated.
But imagine in the first, go back to Gordon, obviously, like, the vaccines are far more important than someone who's the best at strangling people. But if ChatGPT is going to argue or make a description of him, you would say how successful he is at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's what, he's
100%.
not just well-known. It's a little bit more than that. And then to immediately criticize him in the same sentence is just goofy. And here's another thing. This is very interesting. Second, Ryan's political views have been criticized for being divisive and harmful to marginalized group. He's been accused of promoting hateful and discriminatory ideologies and for failing to understand how his views may impact people who are different from him. Like, this is like a value judgment made by AI.
He asked it to do that, though.
I know, but it's fascinating. because it asked him to criticize Anthony Fauci.
Well-
it had no problem doing it.
Right. So
Criticize him, it was really easily.
It's-
Okay, we'll know what,
It's a good
post he
point,
put,
though. It's a good point. But he asked it to criticize him.
but it is
the fact that
censoring
it's
the
so,
criticism of Fauci for sure.
It's so easy to get it to do that for him, and so hard to get it to do it for Fauci. If you were asking GPT to criticize Fauci, just asking it to do that, it should be able to formulate an argument. That means it's censoring.
Yeah. Steel
So-
me on the case of
Yes.
people that criticize me. Yeah.
There should be a way to do that, just based on what the complaints are about financial ties, about AZT and the HIV crisis.
Yeah.
You can make an argument.
Yeah. And AI should be able to do a really strong version
Right.
of that. But it's very tough,
But what's
especially
weird
on
is that
controversial
it's
topics.
clearly you can't. If you can't do that with that, that's like most likely it's manipulated.
Well,
At least this version of it.
So okay, there's a lot of interesting answers to that. So one aspect of it, I don't know if that was censored because they are trying to do a thing on top of it that doesn't spread misinformation, all the usual stuff that can get you into
Right.
trouble, all that.
Right.
But I think in this case, it might actually legitimately not be censored. It might be the fact that it's trained in part, in this case on Fauci, would be Wikipedia. So it's trained on all Wikipedia. That's not a huge percent of it, but it's there. It's also trained on a lot of newspapers and magazines, so New York Times, and I think New York Times is the most represented newspaper, tiny percentage, but it's still the most represented. So there could be a bias in terms of the coverage in the different newspapers. So that's a data set thing, and also it's trained on Reddit links, and Reddit leans left generally. So I think this is fixable if you expand the training data set on things that are more politically, like represented across the political spectrum. One of the challenges is that Elon highlights there's companies in Silicon Valley like OpenAI and Microsoft probably lean significantly left. Despite what people think, most engineers don't care, but they probably lean left.
I just asked it to criticize Fauci, and it sort of did.
It says he's a highly regarded immunologist. Maybe it's changing. And the director of National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. You just did this just now?
Yeah.
In the United States, despite his extensive expertise and contributions to public health, he has faced criticism from some individuals and groups for his response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Some have accused him of changing his recommendations and advice based on political considerations, while others have criticized the slow pace of vaccine distribution in the U.S. It's important to note that many public health experts and organizations continue to support Dr. Fauci and his work. Oh, that's important to note. And his advice has been instrumental in guiding the country's response to the pandemic. That seems like that didn't criticize him.
See, I said, who is Gordon Ryan? It just said basically who he is, but I asked it to criticize, and it did add a little criticism, which it did in his post,
So you
too.
ask it to describe him, and it describes him accurately. It says he's won multiple world championships in both the gi and no gi divisions. Then it says, can you criticize him?
As an AI language model, I do not have personal opinions or emotions, and I strive to provide neutral and factual information. That has to be inserted.
Interesting. And it says critics of Gordon Ryan have pointed out his sometimes controversial behavior, such as unsportsmanlike conduct during competitions and making disrespectful comments on social media. However, it's important to note that he is highly skilled and successful in his sport and has a large following in the BJJ and grappling communities.
How amazing is this?
Wow.
How
it's
amazing
learning.
is this?
So it's learning.
I would also note at the bottom it
That-
tells
that-
you what version it is. And
Right.
today, I think, or even earlier when I went on, it said January 9th, and now it says January 30th. So
Right.
I updated
So-
it today.
and
So
just to be clear-
in that, it learned.
Yeah, just to be clear, this is a 2-year-old model. They're going to be releasing the new one, a GPT-4, which will underlie...
When is that happening? Where can I hide? Do I need to hide in a mountain, or would you go to an island? Island probably better,
Can't
right?
run away. You got to get on a.
Shit.
You got to get on a rocket. No, and they're cautiously. They're cautioning people that this is not going to be superhuman level intelligence. This is slow progress. GPT-4 is not. All of this is interesting discoveries because ChatGPT is not fundamentally different than the thing we had. There's a few tricks that tuned it to human, to the thing that humans expect, which makes it super impressive to humans. But the knowledge and the intelligence was already there. So there's a lot of tricks here along the way as we discover how to create intelligent systems. Google is desperately working on this. Obviously, Microsoft is the one that's investing in OpenAI. Different companies are investing in this, and open source versions are popping up. So we're going to have all of that. The reason Google is freaking out, I don't think there's justification for this, is it might replace search. So a lot of the questions you Google is like questions about
that makes sense.
how something works, and basically ChatGPT can replace knowledge. So like basically questions about answers and questions about basic facts of the world and events and all that kind of stuff. And then if you integrate search into that, Google would be worried because you might be able to discover the right web page for this kind of piece of knowledge because you can trace it back to the data on which it was trained on to attain that kind of knowledge. So Google makes a lot of money from search, from ads on search.
I would imagine.
And so this is a threat for the first time in a long time.
And a threat where it seems like you probably do it better than Google can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But of course, Google knows how to do this.
Chat GPT, right? What if they come up with voice GPT? What if they come up with a thing where you just have it relax and it feels weird at first?
Yeah.
You just let it talk for you.
Yeah.
Let it manipulate your vocal cords and let it say things for you. It'll say the right things.
Yeah.
Imagine you're on a date and you're like, God, I just get social anxiety when I'm around women.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Don't worry. Install voice GPT, smooth operator.
And then you control it.
Let it talk for you.
With high-level human language. I mean,
Yeah.
this is going to replace that definitely replaces legal contracts or basic legal contracts, and then it starts to replace email. So instead, I'll write you an email. The thing I'll write is like, say something nice to Joe, showing that I still care, and then it will generate an email saying, "Hey, bro," like it'll use the right language to communicate that to you, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and so I'll just write a few words, and it'll write a long thing, like, or it might be like, "Dear Joseph," or something like that. It adds that filler stuff. Like ChatGPT is really good at creating the filler that we all do. That's why it can replace your English essay in high school, because most of English essays are filler.
Yeah.
You're not actually saying anything interesting. And on a date too, most things is filler, except like the human emotions that we feel, the dance of human emotions. But
maybe that's how we'll get to give up on being human, is that it becomes so muddied through things like ChatGPT 7.0 and AI, and that we're just like, who knows what the fuck it means to be a person anyway?
No, but
it's
maybe,
all muddied.
Maybe it'll help us discover the essence of what it means to be a human, why we're special. Maybe it's consciousness, the ability to deeply experience a thing.
That's what I love about you. You're so optimistic. You're always looking at the bright side.
You want it all to burn down.
I'm like, we're doomed.
Yeah.
We're doomed. Say we're doomed. Say it.
That should be the name of your next special. I think
That's a little too on the nose.
There's something that this is the cynicism. I don't know why people love to watch a thing burn down.
It's not that they like to watch a thing burn down. They just want to be right about it going to fail. The fact that it's going to fail.
Yeah,
they want to be right.
But why don't you want to be right about a thing being awesome, which it usually is?
Because we like to find danger. We like to, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem. I mean, some people like to find like the good and stuff, and some people like to say, this is going to turn out okay. I know how this is going to work. This is all going to work out right. But if you were really paying attention, could you really be confidently stating that this is all going to work out?
Not confidently, but more likely than not, yes. And the
So-
people that are actually building stuff. So here's a dark reality of this public discourse we're operating in. The people that say it's all going to burn down, and you've had a few guests. I'm not touching Russia, Ukraine today. I don't think I actually talked about my trip to Ukraine. It's just interesting. It's people that are cynical and say that everything is burning down are somehow, just by that statement, seen as more intelligent. I've just observed this as weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
The reality is the people that are building this stuff are usually optimistic. Now, you could say they're too optimistic, but like if you actually want to build a better world, you're usually going to be more optimistic. The people that are considered intelligent are the ones that are going to be a little more cynical. I think there's a balance there that's kind of nice, because it's like you need the critic. It's not the critic that counts, but you need the critic in order for the people not to run away with into the bad direction.
Well, that was how many things when they first were invented were dismissed by smart people? like
Yeah.
the personal computer. Like when the personal computer was invented, everyone's like, what the fuck are you going to do with that? All the people that thought they were smart. Dude, when podcasts first started, people were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, and people that were like at the like Howard Stern mocked them.
Yeah.
He's the top of the food chain when it comes to broadcasting. They're like, what the fuck is this? All these smart people, but they were wrong. And I think that applies to so many things. I think right now the sky is the limit, and all bets are off when it comes to what AI and what technology is going to bring to humans. And any ideas that we have that this will work out well or not well is just guessing. But you're right that the people that like to think they're smart, they move towards, oh, we're fucked. We're fucked, bro. Yeah, that's more fun for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird.
It's our market. So maybe once AI does all the actual work, we're going to descend into just talking shit nonstop. Because we monkeys, descendants of apes, enjoy talking shit.
How far do you think we are away from Neuralink?
Well, the Neuralink is, no, I think we're far away.
Decades?
Well, no, Neuralink in humans,
Yeah.
helping humans recover some capability, we're like 5 years away. If you ask Elon, it's probably like 2 years away. But yeah, it's within a decade. There'll be a lot of incredible like regained capabilities. Regained sight, I think, is probably more than 10 years. Like being able to see when you
Wow.
could never see.
That's going to be amazing.
But in terms of expanded capability, it's gonna be a while because we're gonna get so much amazing expanded capability in our devices that we just hold, and the bandwidth is already pretty high in terms of communicating awesomeness to us. So I don't see the obvious need for like that extremely high bandwidth that Neuralink would provide, like just injecting AI into our brain. I think we're probably like 50 years away from AI in our brain, basically being able to inject ChatGPT knowledge into our brain directly. So it's part of the thought process. That's at least 50. Because here's the thing. It's like, as to that commentary from before, like the evolution has built a really complicated biological mechanism there that it's really hard to like understand how the brain works without understanding how it all comes from a single embryo. There's this whole computation system that builds up a human being from a single strand of DNA. So like to understand how like you can't just like
Monkey with that.
yeah, you can't monkey with the result of it. You can
Right.
monkey with the development part. So you have to understand the embryogenesis or whatever, the process of building from the actual how the programming maps to the function throughout the entire process. Because I think most of the magic honestly happens, first of all, probably in the womb and maybe in the first year of life. That's where all the cool shit happens. Like messing with the baked cake is too difficult. But so of course through simulation, like AlphaFold, a lot of stuff DeepMind is doing, through simulation we'll probably be able to understand some of these complicated biological processes like protein folding and more, but we're really far away from that.
I think we are really far away from it, but I don't know what that means because really far might just be a few years once
Yeah,
some
true.
giant breakthrough happens.
True. Goes
But
fast.
my point is, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think evolution and monkeying with the evolution is a part of evolution. I think it's a natural course of progression for the way the human curious mind works and its ability to manipulate things around it. Whether it's manipulate environments and structures to survive the elements, or whether it's manipulating electricity and frequencies to send signals and videos through the sky, whatever the fuck it's doing, it's trying to always do a better version of that. And I think that manipulating genetics is a part of evolution. I think it's just a natural part of evolution. We just think of it as something, since we created it, if we create a thing and that thing changes biology, what have we done? We've played God and we've done... No. It's a part of the thing. It's like bees make beehives. We make technology. That's like part of what we're here to do. And one of the reasons why we're so hyper curious and also materialistic is that that is the best way to fuel technological innovation. And that it's a natural thing. And then if we start monkeying with our genetics, that's also a natural thing.
Yeah.
It's all built into the system. The same reason why fucking bats pollinate things. It's all built into the system.
It's just some monkeying is harder to do than others. I
Yeah.
think like the biological one is tricky. Even genetic engineering is tricky for
now. Yeah, but like how long is it going to be tricky for? I mean, back then when you were on that stupid wagon making your way across the country, ducking arrows,
Yeah.
that was a stupid way to get to the other side of the country. But now you just get in a plane And instead of taking months and you eat your kids in the fucking mountains because you've snowed in, instead of that, you land in California in 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And complain about the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you're bitching. I can't even fucking watch a YouTube video up here. Yeah, I mean, what we're doing now with that stuff is inconceivable to people that made their way across this country in the 1800s. And I think what we're going to be able to do in the future, 200 years from now, is inconceivable to us. Probably even more so. It's probably, and I think we're probably going to be visited. I think there's going to come a time where these things from other places that are leaving behind whatever video and signal and evidence that there's something that exists in a way that we can't explain or describe. But those things are probably going to like make themselves be more well known.
Well, that's why space exploration is really interesting to me. It feels like it's going to increase the likelihood. I really, like, a dream for me in my lifetime is to be there if they discover life on another planet. Like actual definitive evidence. It can be bacteria, it doesn't matter. Because that shows to you, like, whether it's on Mars, it could be dead. It could be on the moons, like of Jupiter and Saturn, Titan and all that. If they discover life, that's definitely didn't come from Earth. Like, that means life is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, bacteria, doesn't matter. Life is everywhere.
Yeah.
Something is everywhere. And then I say, fuck it, there's no way intelligent alien civilizations are not everywhere. And then you have terrifying questions like, why the hell are they not showing up? But like, they for sure are everywhere.
I think it's just a distance issue.
Yeah,
I mean, when we say why are they not showing up, if they are coming here, why would they let us know? And if we're trying to look at them and try to figure out where they are, it's a distance issue. There's no way we can figure it out yet.
But if they solved, like Kardashev type 1, type 2, like if they solved energy, like nuclear fusion at a scale of like a star system or at a scale of a galaxy, we should be able to see them. It should be radiating. Like, there should be some weird shit.
There could be some sort of a parallel technology that's
Yeah.
incomprehensible to us. It's undetectable because we don't even know what to look for.
Yeah, well, we're like learning a lot about black holes. That's a weird thing. Like, what the hell is a black hole? That's really weird.
Very weird.
Like, everyone's worried about woke people and so on. I'm worried about black holes.
Some of them are just rogue. They're just moving across galaxies, devouring everything in its path.
Yeah, and they're somehow either destroying information or some stuff. Like, it's a singularity. There's like, and then you can probably use it because they're messing with gravity. You can probably use it for transportation somehow. And we need to figure that out. Maybe
How about
that's
the first dude who has the ball, the Chuck Yeager of a black hole.
Take a ride.
Those guys, man. Think about those first jet fighter pilots and first astronauts and people who had the balls to climb into a seat of a rocket and get shot up into the fucking cosmos.
Yuri Gagarin.
Yikes!
So the interesting thing about the Soviet side compared to the American side, so Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space on the Soviet side, I think the safety standards were a little lower on the Soviet side.
I would imagine.
So, like, it's not...
The production standards were low, too. You ever see the video that they tried to pretend was him actually doing it?
No.
Well, he most certainly did it. Don't get me wrong. But they most certainly recreated the video of the footage. Because, like, how are they getting the fucking cameras in there with him and all the lighting? Like, there's different, like, shadows behind him. And it's, like, so unsophisticated.
Well, funny thing, people like criticize U.S. when the moon landing and so on, suspicious. But the U.S. is actually much better at filming stuff. They did a better job of just like strap an astronaut in and just launch the thing. No plan for landing.
Yeah.
Like parachute. It's extremely dangerous what they did, just to beat the U.S. by a few months.
They had Kubrick filming it.
For the moon landing.
Yeah. America had Kubrick filming it. He did an amazing job. It looks so realistic. The guy that did 2001. Look at what he did. Amazing. Great work.
And now we're coming back there.
Kidding. Yeah, I hope we do go back. It would be wild if we went back there and we did find like the lunar lander and all the footprints and shit. If something from 1969, if you really did find footprints that were undisturbed, that would be so strange. So weird. Like, could you imagine if you could go, like if there was a famous explorer, you know, that went to some weird island somewhere, and you go there and you see his footprint still in the mud where he walked, in the 1960s, you'd be like, holy shit. Well, imagine that times a million. If you go to the moon and see footprints. But imagine if you go up there and there's fucking nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but you still got up there.
You're like, wait, they were supposed to land right here. This is bullshit. Nobody. Would
Yeah.
you tell anybody? If you found out it was horseshit,
Yeah.
would you open your mouth or would you just like keep it to yourself?
Well, because the person that would likely be there, would be in charge of the effort, is Mr. Elon Musk, for
I think
sure.
He would tell everybody.
He would tell everybody.
He would tell everybody. If he gets up to
It's
the
that
moon.
meme, like, what you saying? We never land on the moon. We never did, and then you get shot. That meme.
Yeah, that meme.
You know-
if Elon goes up there and finds out we never landed there, that would be fucking wild.
Yeah, the moon files as opposed to the Twitter files. Yeah, but
It would be more shocking if we went at this point. It would be more shocking if we really did land on the moon in 1969. That's how I feel.
really
No.
the amount. I mean, once you. By the way, if I could just give a shout
I'm
out.
half joking.
Recommend everybody needs to check out Tim Dodd, Everyday Astronaut. He has an incredible YouTube channel. He's talked to Elon a couple of times, but I got to meet him and interact with him. That man knows. I just love people that are passionate about a particular topic to a level of like obsession. He loves rocket propulsion. He doesn't even like space travel. Like, he likes space travel, but
Just likes to watch things burn and
yeah.
fly.
So he's a car guy.
There he is.
It's very technical videos. They're kind of. He's a great educator.
What does he do? What is his job?
Teach about rocket propulsion, like straight and not like.
He's a YouTuber.
But see, like with YouTubers, sometimes you can think like, okay, this person is a shallow level educator. This person is like.
But why would anybody think that? You could be brilliant on YouTube.
No, I know.
YouTube is an amazing resource, and I know people criticize it, but
It's incredible
because
yeah.
of the censorship. But talk about something that's changed the way people have access to information. YouTube might be the biggest because you could find out how to fix anything almost instantaneously. Find out information on stuff, even wrong information. You know how many flat Earth videos there are on YouTube? You want to find out about flat earthers? You could dig around, son. You can find. You can find, a lot
Find
of-
the truth.
You can find some compelling arguments. You're like, what the fuck? Which is what happens when you get to say something and nobody gets to like refute you on the spot.
Yeah, well, if you believe in gravity, one of Tim is definitely somebody to look into because I mean, to me, because he's a car guy, to me, there's nothing fucking more badass than a rocket engine.
Pretty badass.
I like it's, the bigger they get, it's like the roar, the fire, the explosion. It's I mean, just it's like the coolest basic, large scale, badass engineering you could possibly achieve. It's saying fuck you to gravity and just launching a giant thing that kind of looks like a dick into space. It's incredible. And then sometimes with humans up on top. Are you following Starship? You know, Starship, the SpaceX Starship. That's
Yes.
like the big ass
Yeah.
ship that they're testing. I think they're doing this week a static fire test for the first time. So it has these 33 giant Raptor engines, which each one individually I just want to take home. And if I'm being honest,
Will he let you keep a piece?
no, you don't want a piece. You want the whole thing. Why would you want a piece?
Just a little part.
No, I want it to
Something.
fucking burn. I don't want it to like sit there like, oh, this is rockets from the moon. This is the power, like the thrust of the fucking thing that can lift a building off the ground out into space is incredible. So they're doing for the first time all 33 engines. Just a static fire means you're testing it on the ground, just full burn, all just to see what happens when
See if it doesn't blow
just
up.
the most powerful rocket ever built.
Holy shit.
And they're going to be launching humans on top of that rocket very soon. Tim Dodd, he's an
He's
idiot.
gonna go?
He signed up for a
Oh,
program.
Tim, we need you back on
That's what I
Earth.
pulled up there.
Yeah. So
Oh,
this,
Tim. Steve Aoki. We talked about this before. Steve Aoki. I'm gonna call him up. And
The
go,
guy-
hey,
the-
bro,
the
cut
guy-
this shit.
the guy in the middle is funding it, and he's just got a bunch of artists, a bunch of creative minds.
Oh my
and
God,
to
guy in
go
the
along.
middle is gonna be behind a fucking giant cement wall, laughing his dick off.
No, he's coming along.
He's not going.
He's going.
He's gonna get COVID right before it's supposed to.
You guys go. I'll stay here.
He's like, I'm really sorry that I have to sacrifice. People are gonna get sick. Half of those people are gonna get like stubbed toes and shit, and I need knee surgery. They're not gonna go.
This is the comedian Joe Rogan saying, "Burn it all down." Well, it's called Dear Moon. I mean, so they're going around the moon,
Right.
But it's
And they're
humans on top
using
of this giant
the
fucking awesome
SpaceX
thing.
rocket
SpaceX Starship. Yeah.
And when is that supposed to take place?
So there's a few steps along the way. It's supposed to be this year, but there's a lot. Starship is such a difficult rocket to
Bro.
build because Starship is designed
Imagine
to
when-
land on Mars and
that thing.
take off. So like full trip back, so, two-way trip to Mars and back,
Look what it looks like, man. It's insane.
and it's
God damn, that looks cool as fuck.
And being
That's
caught-
what it looks like? That's the actual thing?
yeah, and it's being caught by. That's the top part, and then the bottom part to the left.
Well, is that the part that people are in?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
that's what I'm saying. So that thing alone, like, look how dope that thing looks. Go back up where you see it like circling over the moon. How much are people gonna have to pay for that? Because you want to talk about like a life-changing experience, flying over the fucking moon in a spaceship. And
Yeah.
like, how long is this trip? Like a couple of weeks?
Yeah, probably. And then, but I think the most magical thing will probably be looking back at Earth.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Well, all
From
of it
that.
would be wild. You know, people won't want to go to the Maldives anymore. They're gonna want to fly over the moon, motherfucker. Fly over the moon.
Yeah.
You haven't flown over the moon? Oh my god, bro, it changed me. It would be annoying, just like when people talk to you about their psychedelic trips.
Would you go?
No, not for years, because you know one of them ain't making it home.
Yeah, it'd probably
What?
be yours.
When is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? You know, on the third one?
Yeah.
On the 10th one? One of them's gonna get hit with a little micrometeorite. Pink.
I'll read a poem at your funeral.
Oh, sweetie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He was so, like a little tear. Right. Play Dust in the Wind.
That's what they're gonna
Just
do. I think this looks like 5 days is all it is.
what? Of course, the new rockets.
Yeah,
They're
5
faster.
days, 5.5, 6 days.
Jesus Christ. It's an extended trip.
Get there on the 5th day.
It's like a trip
So
to
they're
Europe.
not doing any connection
steps.
to the space station. They're just flying.
Unless they
Flying.
have to.
Listen, bro. Fuck all that. Fuck all that. Fuck all
I'll go.
that. You gonna go?
I will.
But I need you here, bro.
We have weekends off.
Come on.
Take
You're
a week
gonna
off.
Die.
I'll film it.
What if you
I'll play Dust in
die?
the Wind at your funeral too.
Yeah. What if you die?
There's something to talk about.
Yeah.
Something to talk about.
Take a video so we can show everyone.
I'm gonna have to be like Howard Stern with like a fucking switch here, going back and forth. You know, like a little.
There'll be an AI to replace me. In
Exactly.
fucking 3 years.
Console.
My time's running low.
Oh, Jamie. Oh, Jamie.
No, you're
ChatGPT will take
special.
over.
Yeah. How long do you think before we are a multiplanetary species? 100 years?
Yeah, 100. Well, see, the really dark reality with everything that SpaceX is doing that I really worry about versus like Tesla and everything else that Elon is involved with is if Elon is no longer here, I don't know if we'll be pushing towards that as hard as we are.
Yeah, we
He's
got to protect Elon at all costs.
He's so singular in this, what a lot of people are calling insane, drive to go to Mars and actually colonize Mars and becoming a multiplanetary species. There's just so few people that are really pushing for that, like
Yeah.
obsessively pushing for that. That's why, with Tesla, with automation and electrification of vehicles, there's other people trying this and working on this. They're being quite successful. Even with brain-computer interfaces, with Neuralink, everything, there's a lot of amazing development. But Mars, I worry worry about how singular is Elon Musk in this world.
I mean, what would happen?
What would
What are
happen?
the options if he wasn't here? Would it stop dead in its tracks?
the
Like,
prob-
that was the thought about the initial Apollo missions, is that those people aren't there anymore, right? So the initial, like, there's the people have always had this question: why haven't we gone back to the moon? There's conspiracy theories that we never went in the first place, and then there's also people that say no, those people that had this singular obsession to beat Russia,
Yeah.
they don't exist anymore. They're not there anymore. The Cold War doesn't exist anymore. They burned up a lot of money doing this, going back and forth, and then they just stopped. And those people that got there, they're not around anymore. You'd have to literally relearn everything.
Yeah. Well, there's on the Cold War front, luckily China's I can imagine a positive competition, a friendly competition between US and China on the space front.
Again, you with the fucking optimism.
No,
man.
I mean, that was-
I have to pee so bad.
You
Can
do?
we hold this thought?
Sure.
Hold this thought. We'll go right back. Optimism, China. Don't forget. Okay. China,
Yeah.
healthy competition.
Yeah. In the space, no pun intended, in in the efforts of space exploration, space travel, launching rockets up into space, that seems like one of the only situations in which major nations that are competing otherwise can collaborate in a healthy competition. Because, at least for now, there's no military conflict out in space. And so there's a legitimate scientific engineering competition that's happening. As that's happened with the Soviet Union, the space race there's a Cold War going on, but the space race was between engineers and scientists and so on, and a huge investment into that effort. But it was peaceful.
Yeah, it's an interesting time if you think about it, right? Like 1969, when there was this battle for technological superiority that was, in a lot of ways, fueled by Nazi scientists.
Yeah.
Which is really crazy. Operation Paperclip, where they brought
Werner
Nazi...
von Braun. Yeah.
Werner von Braun, all these guys with the dueling scars on their faces. The whole history of it is so fascinating.
It's dark. He's considered to be, I guess, probably it's fair to say, like the father of space travel. Like who cares where the rockets go up? No, wait. If the rockets go up, who cares if they come down, says Werner von Braun. Where's that from? Eric Weinstein taught me that. There's a song.
A song. When you think about alternative methods of propulsion, how far away do you think we are from something that's far superior to these badass rockets that you love so much?
Yeah, because it's like old school technology currently.
Yeah. Well, if we think what these aliens are supposedly doing, is supposed aliens, UAPs. We mean, for all we know, they could be drones. I mean, it makes more sense. I mean, why would you go there physically as a biological entity and risk death when just think about the capabilities of like what we send to Mars. I mean, those drones they send to Mars, it's incredible. The images that we get back, it's amazing. And it's fairly rudimentary in terms of like what we consider these, these aliens supposedly, thousands of years advanced from us, millions of years advanced from us have.
Well, I think there's a lot of kind of short-term, meaning in the next 50 years, development that could happen, like with nuclear propulsion, especially out in space. So taking off from Earth, the downside of nuclear propulsion is the radiation. But out in space, you can do propulsion with nuclear fission or nuclear fusion for longer-term space travel to really accelerate a lot and to have a lot of energy for the long distance, like interstellar travel. But even that, from everybody that tells me, that's not enough. So I think if we want to get humans, if you want a super light vehicle that just travels super fast, that's different. But that's probably not what we're interested in. That's very interesting from a scientific perspective, like travel to Alpha Centauri, super, super fast, like, I don't know, a fraction of the speed of light, and then take a few pictures, like fast flybys. That's interesting.
Imagine if they fly over in a drone, they get pictures of cities.
Yeah.
Do you imagine the first time we send some sort of an interplanetary probe, we send something that can go to another solar system, and we just fucking hit jackpot. We fly over some Blade Runner city. You're like, holy shit.
The problem is, and this is actually the sad like with the Fauci thing, the thing I worry about is that the cynicism and the controversy and the politicization of science, people will doubt whatever we see. Right. Whatever we see. There's almost nothing we could see that there would not be narratives around that this is controversy, this is fake. Imagine how many people would say it's fake.
Yeah,
right?
Some people definitely would.
Because like we can create incredibly fake images. Like how do you know it's real? It's very difficult to, even if you have literally a body of an alien.
Yeah, but even then, people say, it's a demon.
Yeah.
That's a demon brought here from Satan to test our will.
So I think a lot of that requires us to kind of solve some of the transparency and trust issues we have.
Well, there's certain things that we agree on, right? Like everybody agrees that the sun is hot. It's in the sky. It's a fireball.
For now, wait until nuclear fusion, which is what powers the sun, becomes a legitimate power source that competes with our current power sources, and people will be like, well, no, they'll construct all kinds of narratives around the sun.
Just people that don't think nuclear bombs are real. It's like a growing movement of knuckleheads online to think nuclear bombs are fake.
And that's probably a subset, but there's a large number of people that believe nuclear energy is unsafe.
Yes.
And all the data shows it's safer than
everything else.
Everything else.
Yeah.
But there's something terrifying about nuclear that people are scared of.
Well, it's the old nuclear where it fucked up and ruined entire towns. Like made them radioactive forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but you have to look at
Chernobyl.
all the other dangers. But then again, the people that are telling you that nuclear is safe are also the same people that are telling you that other things we put in our bodies are safe. And there's a big distrust of that kind of the quote unquote expert. To me, this is the biggest tragedy that there's a lot of people that are good at what they fucking do in this world, and for us to constantly be suspicious of them is just not a good way to progress in the civilization.
Sure, like the people that are suspicious of Bill Gates.
Yeah.
When he's promoting health advice and he doesn't look healthy.
Yeah.
Still might be doing a good job with health advice.
Oh, you mean like Louis C.K. on your show?
But he's unhealthy.
Last week?
What did he say?
I think he was talking about like how it's a great luxury to be talking about ice baths and whatever.
Yeah.
Like how ridiculous is it that we've arrived in human civilization to a place where we're debating the benefits of an ice bath, which I think is a very it's actually kind of an elitist thing to say. I mean, I agree with him a little bit, but I have an optimistic take. It's like incredible that we arrived at this place. That's awesome that we get to concern ourselves with health. But by the way, ice baths, like coming from just like the Soviet Union, that's not the epitome of like elitist, expensive health care.
No,
like
you
there's
guys
literally
just cut
people,
a fucking hole in the lake.
Exactly. There's like among cold showers and like in the Soviet Union and Mongolia. I mean, that's a part, like everyone understands the benefit of cold. It's not like...
You saw that video of Fedor in the banya when he was training back when he was in Pride?
No.
They used to have, they had an outdoor sauna that was right next to a frozen lake.
Yep.
And they would go back and forth.
Heat and cold.
Yeah.
Requires no money.
Yeah.
Or very little.
Well, the sauna, you got to construct it, but you can construct a wood-fired sauna, and you could do it yourself. Just the same way you could build a shed, you could build a sauna. Like Cowboy Cerrone built a sick one. He built a huge one by himself for his ranch, and it works on firewood. A lot of people like saunas that work on firewood because it makes you feel like a fucking savage.
Yeah.
You're out there with an actual fire and you're sweating it out. Like there's an added element of the smell of burning hardwood too that's very exciting for people. So it's not just like you turn on a button and the rocks get hot because there's an electric coil that heats up. This is way better because you got an actual fire burning. Like it like brings you back to like a campfire feeling.
That said, it's a little bit bro-y to criticize a soft body not being able to generate a lot of value in this world. Like Bill Gates' body, like basically every body of a scientist or engineer or leader over the age of whatever. I mean, they're just focused. They're busy.
Sure.
It's definitely, they could probably perform better. I mean, this is the criticism. Like a leader like Elon could perform better if he sleeps more, if he exercises more. Yes.
Right, but he's so obsessed he doesn't seem to care. Look, he looks great.
How much do you think he can bench? Deadlift?
4 pounds. How old is he? The pressure that this guy must be under with all that scrutiny, that's all like an undeniable impact on your health. So many people are like mad at that dude.
Well, no,
wait, he's only 67? Holy shit. Go back to that image again.
Haters gonna hate, Joe.
Yeah, but dude, that's not optimal health. Someone should talk to him about what he's eating.
There's also optimal mental health and intellectual diversity and growing as a person.
Did you see that lady on 60 Minutes? They interviewed her. She's some new woman who works in the White House. And they asked her about obesity. She said the number one cause of obesity is genetics. And it doesn't matter what you do. Like you could be a person who has a perfect diet and exercises and sleeps right, and you're still obese. Mm-hmm. And the health experts went fucking nuts. Like that's not what the data shows. The data shows that most people who are obese have obese parents, and they come from an obese family, but they're all doing the wrong thing. There's not like a person in that family that's eating grass-fed steak and running marathons and lifting weights and getting up at 6 in the morning and getting in a cold plunge and doing all these different things, but it's still fat as fuck.
Yeah.
And they're watching their calories in and calories out, and they're burning 1,000 calories a day in exercise, and they're still fat as fuck. That's not real. Like to say that and to say it on 60 Minutes, there's this weird thing going on where people want to say it's not your fault, and it isn't your fault. I mean, if you believe in determinism, if you believe in the impact of the people around you and the environment that you're in, which is most certainly real, the impact of your parents, the impact of modeling. You're modeling after other people's bad decision making. That's all real. That's 100% real. But to say that all obesity is just genetic is bonkers. That's a bonkers thing to say, and it discredits all these people that we know that were obese that without surgery lost all that weight and looked great, like Ethan Suplee. Perfect example. There was a guy that was at one point in time like 500 plus pounds, right? How big was Ethan was he at his biggest? But anyway, Jamie will find out. Documented all of it, did it publicly because he was a fucking star. He's a famous actor. Lost all the weight, now looks great, and did it through exercise and discipline, and even like was really open about the fact that he gained a lot of it back a couple times. He went from 550 to 255. He did that.
Wow.
He did that himself. I mean, he did it, and he documented it, and he had to go through surgery to get the skin removed so that his, he wasn't like a flying squirrel. But he did it. And to say that it's all genetic, like, no, he had the same genes. Like, this is the same guy. It's not.
And it's also not inspiring.
Yes.
So like to say that it's, but that's the tension. If you say it's all genetic or it's significantly genetic, then you're encouraging people to be more accepting of the challenges of other people's lives. Like your life might be, everybody's walking a hard road is basically the philosophical thing. That you don't, just because it's easy for you to exercise doesn't mean it's easy for others to exercise. Sort
of. But aren't they also saying you don't even have to walk that road because it's not going to help you?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a very poor statement of that. It's a trade-off. I mean, it's a different philosophy. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Right.
It's a really inspiring, powerful, empowering philosophy. But it's like, sometimes it's harder.
You
than others.
You can't say that because different people have different. Some people don't even have fucking shoes. Yeah. Like the idea of pull yourself up by your bootstraps is stupid. And I did it. Why didn't you? No, you did it with your life. The idea that your life, because it was difficult, is exactly the same as somebody else's life, which may be more difficult or have insurmountable obstacles that are in the way. There's also like different temperaments, different mental fortitude that people are just, for whatever reason, from the womb have. Some people are just determined from the time they're really young, and some people are just not. Some people are discouraged easily, and some people are not. And I don't know why. Yeah. But to say that there's no way is crazy. To say there's no way is like, that's irresponsible. And it's also like to say that and just put it on 60 Minutes. Hey, guys, that's not true. And you could talk to a lot of people that have lost weight, and they'll tell you it's not true. It doesn't mean that the people who are obese didn't get a really bad hand genetically, a really bad hand in terms of the environment they grew up with. Yeah, they got dealt a bad hand, no doubt. It's not the same as someone who grows up in a house where everybody's skinny and the fucking whole family runs. Like, no, it's not going to be the same. Someone who's eating organic and the whole family like does a lot of exercise and does stuff together. Yeah, they're going to be thinner. Yeah. But it's like you can't lie. You can't lie, and you can't be you can't expect me to think that you're really an expert when you say things like that.
Yeah, but you also can't criticize Bill Gates by saying he has a soft body.
Of course you can.
Of course you're being a comedian, but
he does. And if he's talking about health, hey, buddy, get your house in order first.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of incredible doctors that don't have their house in order.
That's true. But if you're giving health advice, one of the core components to health is your metabolic health, your overall metabolic health.
Put up this story. Right out of the gate, they're talking about using that drug, that semaglutide stuff we've been talking about.
Is that what they're doing? So this is like an ad for semaglutide?
I'm not saying that, but that's what it seems like.
Oh my God.
There's even like the whole thing about the shortages of it.
Oh no.
So but I think Huberman was discussing this. He might have been discussing this with Peter Attia, and they were discussing that semaglutide doesn't just make you lose fat, but also makes you lose muscle in many cases. And that's probably because you're not taking in enough food. Right, because what it's doing is I'm just guessing. There might be some other mechanisms involved, obviously. But if you're like full quicker, which is the idea behind this stuff, it's almost like you're taking an injection. It does the same thing as like a belly band. If you're not eating enough food and you're losing fat that quickly, you might be losing muscle too. Like, because when people go on like binge diets, they starve themselves, they lose muscle. Like when guys lose weight for fights and they get down to a very minimalistic, very minimal calorie input, they lose muscle too. Like when someone cuts themselves down from like 205 and fights at 170, 100% they're going to lose some muscle too.
Yeah, but there's an interesting. So for fighting is different, but there's if you're doing it in a healthy way, for your own personal life, there might be some strength training combined. I mean, that's a really interesting dynamics, right? How do you lose weight while maintaining muscle mass?
Well, it depends on how many calories you're burning. Much of the weight loss resulting from GLP-1 agonists is the loss of muscle, bone mass, and other lean tissue rather than body fat. Holy shit.
It's dark.
For example, a 2021, but at least you look good, 2021 trial entitled The Impact of Semaglutide on Body Composition in Adults with Overweight or Obesity that included pre- and post-treatment DEXA scans. DEXA is a medical imaging test used to assess body composition and bone density. Is one of the most accurate methods for identifying how much body fat a person has versus fat-free mass, such as muscle and bone mass. 34.8% of the total weight loss experienced by participants receiving semaglutide resulted from muscle, bone, and connective tissue. Shit, that's not good. So that'll make your ligaments weaker, your fucking knees weaker and shit. That's connective tissue.
Those people were working out or all, do you know what I mean? They could have just been sitting around thinking they didn't have to do anything, and now they lost a bunch of fucking muscle mass.
Good point.
Yeah, but 35%.
That's a lot.
Muscle, bone, and connective tissue.
That's not good. That's not good. Compare these exorbitantly high rates of lean tissue loss with semaglutide Ozempic to rates of lean tissue experienced by properly training and dieting athletes. Keep in mind that when an athlete is losing weight for competition, their goal is to lose 0.0% lean mass. Yeah, that's a goal. The goal is to lose 100% body fat. For example, in 2011 trial comparing two programs for weight loss in a population of experienced athletes, the slow reduction group lost 5.6% of their total body weight, with 100% of the loss coming from body fat. So they did it slow, did it nice and scientifically, while simultaneously gaining 2.1% lean mass. So that's showing you it's way better to do it the right way. If 35% to 40% of total weight loss comes from lean tissue, such as observed in many recent GLP-1 agonist trials, it would be disastrous for an athlete's strength, endurance, and performance levels, and I would say resistance to injuries too. Because if it's saying that it's breaking down your connective tissue, that would be disastrous for knees and shoulders and necks and all that other shit.
Well, that goes to the fact that this incredible biological system we have is very hard to understand and mess with.
We'll fix that. Well,
that's what.
What if you do that with steroids? Maybe it'll fix it.
What
they do that with like fucking Anadrol 50 or some crazy shit. Trembolone.
There's a lot of negative side effects, right?
Yeah, we got to counter that with another pill.
With another pill?
Yeah, we keep going.
You should be the head of Pfizer.
I should. I got ideas.
Yeah.
Fuck it all from Pfizer.
I was getting asked for something like that.
Fix the whole pop.
I can't remember what it is, but I know people have said it fucks with their brain. So it's like, we'll take this brain pill so that it blocks that, and now this thing will fuck with your brain. I forget exactly.
How's it fucking with their brain?
I wish I remembered what it was. I got an ad for this.
Google mental side effects of semaglutide. But it makes sense. There's no biological free lunch, right? When it comes to these complex systems, you're tricking it into like losing weight. Of course, you're gonna lose some shit you want to keep. Most common anxiety, darkened urine. I like a dark urine. I like a whiskey color.
Yeah. Aged well, complex.
Large, hive-like swelling on the face, eyelids, lip, tongue, throat, hands, feet, legs, or sex organs. Jesus Christ. Hive-like swellings. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's only on your dick, but they want to like scare you. Throw in all this other stuff too. Nightmares. Oh, Jesus.
Wait, what do you mean? Wait, is it better if it's on your dick? I don't understand.
No. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But like they're like, this is gonna get it everywhere. Don't worry.
Oh,
it's not
right,
just the
right.
dick.
Soften it up.
Yeah, it is your head, your feet. You're like, okay. But if it's like, can it give you hives all over your balls?
Just
like, no
consequences
no,
just for your dick.
Face too, bro. Don't worry, your hands. Oh, okay. But I'll be skinny, right? Pain in the stomach, side, or abdomen, possibly radiating to the back. Skin rash. Unusual tiredness or weakness. Yeah, makes sense. If you're not eating much, you're gonna be tired unless you're taking our Adderall with it. Oh, it may cause some people to have suicidal thoughts and tendencies, or to become more depressed. Oh, Jesus Christ! Also, tell your doctor. Go back to that again. Also, tell your doctor if you have sudden or strong feelings including feeling nervous. That's my whole life, is sudden strong feelings.
I mean,
Angry.
Man, it's so interconnected. all of it.
Violent, restless, violent, or scared. If you or your caregiver notice any of these side effects, tell your doctor right away. You tell your doctor says, don't be a pussy. Do you want to have a fucking six-pack for summer or not, Lex?
Yeah, take that
Come
rash on your
on.
dick
Come
like
on,
a man.
bro.
Says when you stop
Did
taking
Elon
it.
say he was taking that stuff?
I think he might have.
Google that. I think he said he was dropping weight.
I
And
think
a lot of people are dropping weight with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, his big thing he changed is fasting.
Oh, that's a good move. What is it saying? What's it saying? Down 30 pounds. Okay, world's richest man responded saying fasting plus, Ozempic plus Wegovy. Yeah. That's, Ozempic, that's it. That's semaglutide.
Yeah.
Plus no tasty food near me.
Yeah, no snacking, fasting.
Yeah.
That's I think a really good way to lose weight without the drug.
He says, bruh, I also take Ozempic for my diabetes. Did he say that?
No, someone else did.
Who said that?
Another user asked if his diabetes.
This is
drug
the state of
causes
modern
side
journalism.
Oh
effects
my
like
god! Look at this. Someone's tweet gets like fucking locked in there. Isn't that funny? That like someone like that's what they do with articles now.
Mm-hmm.
They'll like just take some random crackpot who like makes a tweet to Lex. If they're writing a hit piece on Lex, you're like, Lex, time to get rid of that stupid fucking suit. A lot of people are very upset about his suit.
Yeah.
And they'll add that to the article.
And nobody's bothered by it. Nobody's really bothered because there's no
It's weird.
mechanism to fight it, fight that state of journalism.
Well, it's also no one's reading that. That's the other thing. It's
I think
the impact that these things have, as opposed to like if it was on the front page of the Boston Herald, like it used to be, if the New York Times had a story, like that was where you got your information from the front page of the New York Times. Now it's like, who's reading that?
well, anonymous accounts or just people on Twitter that are trying to create drama will cite that as a source.
That's true.
So
but
it's losing power for sure, but we're in this transitionary phase where, like, you know, like these magazines still have power. Like New York Times still have like prestige
Sure,
and
sure.
authority.
Yeah.
So if it's written there, even though they're misusing that authority because New York Times, like online, there's a huge number of articles. Like I don't know, Forbes. I don't know any of this, but like there's just a huge number of articles. They're using the prestige of that title, and they can write whatever the heck they want,
Yeah.
and they're incentivized to write the most dramatic possible thing. I'm hopeful about ChatGPT replacing all of that because they'll just be able to automatically generate a bunch of bullshit, to where we'll realize it's all bullshit, and then we look to actual authentic human beings for our sources of information versus organizations with a nice, pretty logo.
yeah, because all you would have to do is hire someone to write that hit piece and then cite that hit piece in a bunch of accounts,
Yeah.
and then these fake accounts have their take on this hit piece.
Yeah.
And what do you think? You're close to this. What do you think the number of actual bots are in terms of like social media? Let's just say Facebook, Twitter. I mean, they found out about Facebook that top 20 Christian sites. Sorry if I keep bringing this up, but I thought it was fascinating. 19 of the top 20 were Russian troll farms. Top 20 Christian sites. So all these people are going there for like, Christian news or whatever, and they're steering people. They're getting people riled up. They're putting things out there. They're getting people fired up about stuff. They're organizing things.
I think currently AI, it's actually very difficult to build an army of bots that looks human-like. I think currently it's just cheaper. Like if I wanted to control...
But I don't think it necessarily has to be an army of bots.
Yeah, right. So I think if I was like
Troll
a
farms.
rich person, a troll farm, I would
Yeah.
hire a bunch of people that act as bots, essentially. Not act as bots, but they have multiple accounts and they control different, and they get really good at controlling the conversation in a way that steers you towards a particular narrative. And that's will be very, I can see like less, I can honestly do it with a team of 10 people, probably control a narrative of a particular, like, honestly on anything, on the election. Because
Yeah.
I've seen this time and time again where you seed the idea and then the rest of the humans that seek drama, it spreads.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know exactly how to fight that. I mean, I still have the hope that you could do the same kind of thing with a love bot army. But I honestly think that a lot of that can be fought with just developing critical reason in people. Like
Yes.
Basically showing to people, revealing to them that there's a lot of misinformation online, and only you can figure it out, like using the capacities of your own reason, diversifying the sources of news that you take in, and all of that. And
No,
the
I think
people
you're
you
right.
listen to.
But how many people are going to develop that critical reasoning?
Part
You
of
have
that's-
it. You have it, right?
Yeah.
You read something and some people are tweeting about stuff, and you're like,
Yeah.
is that a real person?
Yeah.
Like, you'll think about it. You'll take it into consideration. Do you remember when Elon first bought Twitter, and there was this, and he posted it, I think, too. A bunch of people posted it. There was someone that did a comparison of this one phrase that was said by so many people about, is it really right for one person to have this much power? And it was just like all these accounts saying it in the exact same order, exact same words. And it's fascinating because like people are putting that narrative out there. So who's doing that? Is that a troll farm? Is it a bot? It doesn't matter because it's clearly there's something going on, right? And I would do that if I didn't want him to do it. If I was like some competitor, or if I was some organization that, was enjoying the benefits of it being censored and having some sort of an interaction with the company to be like, hey, this story, we should fucking kill it. And then you knew you could just get it killed.
Well, and also, but there's other forces like writing a negative thing about Elon, a tweet or an article is more likely to produce likes. That's
for
the
sure.
current state of things, especially ever since, and I criticize him for this, becoming political.
Yeah.
He didn't need to be political. He's an
Well, it's not just political. It's like we talked about the Paul Pelosi tweet, right? It's like when you're that guy, God, you'd be extra careful.
But he wouldn't be that guy if he was careful, right?
Right.
That's the trade-off.
Which is the trade-off.
Say fuck it.
Well, when he made that picture of the pregnant man emoji right next to Bill Gates and said, if you want to lose a boner real quick, like, the fact that that's the same guy that wants to put people on the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so crazy. He wants to be a multiplanetary civilization and dunk on people. The fact that it's the same person, it's like, there's not another dude like him out there.
No, and I mean he's not a troll. He's a part-time troll. He's an incredible leader of teams.
Yeah.
Like he can hire better than anybody I've ever seen. So build up a team, get rid of the people on the team that are not contributing effectively.
Yeah.
That's really rare, especially for large companies. And
Well,
to
when
give
he
them-
moved into Twitter and did that, it was funny, like at the outrage. But yet there was so much information out there, so much evidence that there was a lot of waste there. Like, I'm sure you saw the video of this woman who outlines her day at Twitter. Like, I'm so blessed to work at Twitter. Did you ever see that
No, I
video?
didn't.
Oh my God, we have to watch it.
Okay,
because
let's
it's
see.
amazing. Because she's barely working.
Oh,
You
she's
know?
probably advertising that how great the life is.
Yes.
Not even understanding that that's not what you're supposed to be. That's not supposed to be the life of a tech person.
We think of what he does, right? The grind, sleeping on the office floor, like really trying hard to solve these problems, demanding that sort of work ethic from all the people that he works with.
Yeah.
But watch this video because it's so hilarious. It's like, here it goes.
As a Twitter employee, so this past week went to SF for the first time at a Twitter office, badged in. Honestly, took a moment to just soak everything in. What a blessing. Also started my morning off with an iced matcha from the perch. Then I had a meeting, so quickly scheduled one of these little pod rooms, which were so cool. They're literally noise canceling. Took my meeting, got ready for lunch. Look how delicious this food looks.
By the way,
oh my
no
goodness, I
slight
was
to this
so
lady.
overwhelmed.
What a great job.
Yeah.
Then
I
made my
love
way
it.
down to this log cabin
I'd want to work
area.
there.
I don't know what this is, but it was really cool. Played some foosball with my
played some
friends.
foosball.
Kinda unwind a bit. Also found this really cool meditation room.
Oh, you got to
that I
meditate.
thought was
How'd you lose in
super neat.
foosball? Let's meditate.
Yeah.
I didn't do any yoga, but
Oh,
they have this
yoga.
yoga room if you were a yogi. So also thought that was really cool.
Pretty cool.
Had a couple more meetings in the afternoon. Had a ton of projects that we needed to knock out. Say hey to my teammates. Went to the library to kind of get some more work done. Obviously had to have our
This is hard to watch.
coffee, so made some espresso.
Espresso.
And then before leaving for the day, had some red wine that's on tap.
Red wine on top.
Went
Let's
out
get
to the
fucked up, Lex.
rooftop.
Okay, that's the
Just
first
honestly
good thing I've
go.
seen.
Beautiful.
And then look,
weather.
on the roof.
So awesome trip.
This is Twitter.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I experienced
job.
the same thing at Google. I was at Google for a bit. and I showed up wanting to.
Get
I mean,
to
you
work.
know me.
Yeah,
Like,
I know you. 100 hours a week, Lex.
I guess want my Regina Dugan. I don't know if I should say this, but she's an incredible woman. She's my boss. I mean, I won't say how many hours she said, but she made me feel like I'm going to grind here. This is going to be great. And I showed up and everybody was like this. There's a meditation room, there's nap pods, there's like free food, and there's everyone's relaxed. And I mean, I don't want to criticize that because I think it's possible to do the grind in a healthy way, like not like this, but in a healthy way. Like
right.
you really
take some time off every now and then.
Well, not even now and then, like for a lot, depends on the job. I think programmers usually put in more hours, but even for programming to be effective, like really like 4 hours a day is probably like 2 to 4 hours a day is when you're really focused and really being productive. Like everything else is like filler.
Like a writer.
Yeah, like a writer. It's similar to that. So like so whatever makes that happen, whatever makes that happen, I think is good. But like the danger is creating a culture where you're having fun, everything is great, there's food. Like Google thinks, and a lot of these companies think that let's make our employees happy, so they want to stay here a long time, and then the good productive ones will do awesome stuff.
Do you think that's why there's these mass layoffs, that they realize like this is not effective?
No, they do this mass layoffs regularly. When the economy goes down, they hire a bunch of people. Let's create a happy space. Now, like the thing is with Google and all these companies, they're often bringing in a huge amount of money. So there's not a deadline. Like Twitter was actually going bankrupt. It was going towards the negative.
Before Elon took over?
Bought it, yeah.
So they were fucked.
They were, well, not, I think.
In trouble.
Yeah. Like, I don't know exactly.
Did he know that when he bought it?
I think so. Maybe not the full extent of it.
What a wild move.
Yeah.
What a wild move. Step in and buy a social media corporation, the number one distributor of information.
Yeah.
I mean, if not the number one, maybe Facebook's number one.
Fundamentally a software engineering company, so he's rolling in there, like not knowing anything about the teams, not anything. It's probably just like waking up one day and just saying, you know what? Like it was probably had to do, I haven't talked to him actually about this, like what was why was he in a mood that he said, I'm going to buy Twitter? But it probably had to do with like certain features not working well. It's like, why are they not innovating? Because he really likes Twitter. He's like, this is a pretty cool website. Like, why are they not innovating on making this thing better?
I think there was also this issue of censorship. I think that's a big issue with him.
Yeah.
I don't think that's cursory. I think one of his statements was that if they can't pull it off, like democracy might be doomed. I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder, where does it go if there is complete control of a narrative and then it becomes untangleable, right? Like if there's complete control of a narrative and information, and it's actually controlled by the central power. It's controlled by the government. It's controlled by whoever's in office, by the intelligence agencies, which never leave office. If that becomes how all of our information gets out to us, that is you would hope that they would do a great job in being fair and balanced and telling us the truth about everything and just keeping us from bad information. But if you go over the history of not just this country but of every country, there's been times where they've done things that are contrary to the interest of the public, and they've done it measurably. You could see it. You get freedom of information files on all kinds of things that the government's done that people are very, very unhappy with. If they can control a narrative, and that's fucking dangerous. And him being in control of Twitter, as much as the cucks freak out, at the end of the day, like at least you have one pathway for information where you get to see things debated and disputed, and that's just not the case in the other ones.
Well, there's a problem. I mean, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Sure.
Elon can be corrupted.
Sure.
And so he's been attacked by the left aggressively, which is part of the reason he's now leaning right. If I were to guess, I'm not a therapist, but now he's he's leaning right, I believe, more than like he's comfortable with because of the intense attacks from the left. So it's like a vicious cycle. But like that you can convert the bias that Twitter previously had into the other direction.
Yeah.
And either the left or the right are they're both susceptible to the corrupting nature of power. And so I think the bigger issues, what I think Jack Dorsey has talked about, is putting the power of censorship into the hands of the company is the problem. So you have to somehow remove it. You have to distribute. You have to outsource, remove the sense, like leave it up to the people to censor themselves, meaning to like control what kind of people I want in my life on social media, who am I interacting with. Don't have a centralized committee and meeting that censors, because that's you're going to get, you'll always run into trouble there. And you see that now with even Twitter. There's questionable decisions being made now in the other direction also, but in general, like it seems like there's cherry picking of who gets banned and not. That's always going to be the case if it's centralized.
Yeah.
It's going to probably be better with Elon because he's not he's more allergic to bullshit than others, but any centralized power is going to get corrupted.
Yeah. Interesting. Isn't Jack Dorsey working on some sort of a decentralized version of social media?
Yeah, he has been for a while. I think he launched some stuff. There's interesting ideas. But I think he really believes in fully decentralized.
Yeah.
Which I think there's some centralization which is really important to create a product that's awesome to use.
You want a benevolent leader?
Well, no. Yes, but a benevolent leader that sets the mission and so on and hires and everything like that. But certain stuff like censorship, you have to outsource it. You have to make it distributed.
But should you even have it at all?
Yes, because it's complicated because it's freedom of speech versus freedom of reach. I don't want a person with a megaphone screaming. Like, I want to be able to choose not to listen to the screaming guy.
Right.
I want to, like, my life is happy. There's a podcast I can recommend, podcast show, Intelligence Squared Debates. There's a U.S. version and there's a British version. If you like British snark, that's a little better. And they have, like, pretty heated debates between each other. I like that. I like that kind of disagreement, those debates, and high effort disagreement.
Yes.
Like, people just talking shit and mocking and trolls, like Jordan has talked about, they destroy the quality of the conversation. Now, I don't want to like remove them from they should have a community. If people want to say shitty things to each other, is great, but each individual person should be able to control to some degree how cool their party is.
Well, that's what Mastodon's trying to do, right?
Yeah.
Adam Curry talked about that. With, you can kind of control who is in your Mastodon server, and you could stop shitty people from interacting with you.
But the problem with Mastodon is that there's not enough centralization to create an awesome product. Like, as a product, it kind of sucks. Like, it's very difficult to set up. It's
difficult to navigate.
To use. It's difficult to like no person with a large following is going to use it for now. I mean, that's
for now.
The same with Rumble too. Like, Rumble, I think I would love for Rumble to be successful. So
is it successful yet?
I don't think so. There's a few famous people that went on to Rumble.
They're throwing a lot of money around.
Yeah, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to create a really nice product that competes with YouTube. Like, where the thing, not the content, but like, it's fun to use, it's easy to use. Like, you can play in the background. There's no bugs. There's just a million, like, the recommendation works. Everything just works. Like, YouTube is really easy to use. The search, the discovery, the stuff that's apolitical. The search discovery works great. The comment system works great. Like, the actual interface works great. Rumble, I think, has a way to go there, but philosophically, Rumble just provides a nice resistance to the over-censorship that is YouTube, over-caution that is YouTube.
Yeah, I like the fact that there's alternatives. But
Twitter might be that alternative.
The other thing about, like, the argument for censorship is that if you do admit that there are some bots, or at the very least there's people that are hired to do certain things and to push a narrative on Twitter, if you allow that, you could allow someone to game the system. You could, if you just have no moderation at all, you could most certainly, someone could come in and game the system and just flood, especially if your timeline is it's by time. It's not. It's chronological. It's not by an algorithm. If you do that, man, shit, you could really just swarm something, and keep, like, these posts coming in that have one narrative and one narrative only. And if you're interested in the subject, like, what happened in blah 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 in Cincinnati, and then you go there to the story, and the narrative is promoted by people that have a vested interest in getting one version of the truth out.
Yeah. Yeah, I trust in the people's general ability to figure out the different perspectives on a story and to figure out the truth from that. Like, you have to trust in that ability and try as much as possible to remove the low effort bullshit. So not the wrong bullshit, not the misinformation, but the mockery, the trolling, the bot stuff, all of that. Like, it's really difficult because there's a lot of gray areas. There's a lot of obviously amazing humor online. That's like mockery. Sometimes is one of the best ways to get to the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Tim Dillon's whole existence, right? So you have to be extremely careful with what is and isn't. But I think you have to put that power in the hands of individual users versus like some kind of centralized entity.
Yeah. It's complicated, right? There's no simple, clear path towards a perfect environment. But I think that's also part of what's going on is this weird struggle to kind of figure out how to do this correctly. And that's where it's fascinating that a guy like Elon comes along, where you get this very wealthy and influential person. This is like, you can't just let it go this way. Let's introduce this new element in and try to figure it out in a way that where I'm not listening to the intelligence agencies. Not only that, I'm going to let you know that they were up to a bunch of weird shenanigans and release these Twitter files and allow these journalists to go over all this data. Like, just that alone has been a massive service. Jamie, you were saying something to me the other day about Russian bots that you think.
What about?
The Rene DiResta stuff.
Oh. Well, that
remember?
That was with the Twitter file stuff.
Right.
So they were saying all that stuff, like they were saying like there are no Russian bots almost, I feel like.
What does that mean, though?
I don't know.
There's no Russian bots? Is that what the Twitter file said?
The Twitter files, I think, said that there's not a significant influence for like on the election from them.
But that's Twitter, right? Wasn't the Rene DiResta stuff, a lot of it was Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's interesting to watch it all get sorted out.
The dark one for me, it's really difficult to know what to do with shadow banning. That seems like deeply wrong.
It seems creepy.
It's real. I mean,
what do you got there? You gonna read something?
A poem.
Son of a
motherfucker.
I knew it. I'm like, we're gonna wrap this up soon, and this motherfucker's gonna bust out a poem.
Of course I am.
Yeah, the shadow banning. You know what's really fucked is that they lied. That's what's really fucked. It's not just they were shadow banning; it's that they commented on it and they lied. Well, said it wasn't happening.
I mean, that's. I mean, if you were shadow banning, would you tell the truth about it?
Yeah, but
I think the right thing is to not shadow ban.
Yeah, the right thing is to not shadow ban, but the fact that they just openly lied about it, like that's one of the fascinating things about Elon buying it, is we get to see that.
Yeah.
Like, no, they lie. They just lie.
Yeah, and it becomes a culture. That's a dark thing that. A culture at a company can make that not seem like a big deal.
Right. It's important to preserve democracy, Lex.
Right. And I mean, that's something I think about even with pharma companies, right? The culture in general, the vision of Pfizer and so on is to create medicine that helps a large number of people.
Boner pills.
Boner pills, primarily, yes.
Yeah. What's your, what do you got there?
That's a poem.
Let's wrap this up.
See, I feel
this
like
is a lot of fun, man.
I was trying to get close to the truth when I mentioned Pfizer. And
I think you got close to the truth.
No, I'm just kidding.
You want to go more?
No, I don't want to.
You keep talking about Pfizer if you like.
Bukowski, of course. I find myself disagreeing with him a lot lately.
Of course. You're not a drunk and a loser.
Well, you know that letter he wrote to a friend, find what you love and let it kill you?
Yeah.
That line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that he was referring to love there, like a romantic partner. But I think that's something I also like. Depending on the day, I disagree with. I agree and disagree with that. So basically, find the thing you're passionate about and let it destroy you.
Well, one of the reasons why he resonates. Obviously, I'm joking around about him being a loser. He's a very successful guy, but one of the things that resonates with him, with a lot of people, is the pain. Like there's something in his writing where his pain and his frustration, it's very tangible, and it resonates with people. You feel it. You feel it in his writing, and then when you see him, you realize who he was. You're like, that's all real. Like you ever see when he gets mad at people in the audience and he's yelling at them in the audience in some of his readings, and he's drunk. and he's just reading off of his poetry. Fascinating guy.
And the authenticity. Like, there's something deeply authentic about that.
Right.
About
That's
him.
not an act. That's who he is.
Well, so that's what this poem is about. It's called So You Want to Be a Writer. It's a bit aggressive.
Okay.
If it doesn't come bursting out of you, in spite of everything, don't do it. Unless it comes unasked out of your heart and your mind and your mouth and your gut, don't do it. If you have to sit for hours staring at your computer screen or hunched over your typewriter searching for words, don't do it. If you're doing it for money or fame, don't do it. If you're doing it because you want women in your bed, don't do it. If you have to sit there and rewrite it again and again, don't do it. If it's hard work just thinking about doing it, don't do it. If you're trying to write like somebody else, forget about it. If you have to wait for it to roar out of you, then wait patiently. If it never does roar out of you, do something else. If you first have to read it to your wife, to your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your parents or to anybody at all, you're not ready. Don't be like so many writers. Don't be like so many thousands of people who call themselves writers. Don't be dull and boring and pretentious. Don't be consumed with self-love. The libraries of the world have yawned themselves to sleep over your kind. Don't add to that. Don't do it. Unless it comes out of your soul like a rocket. Unless being still will drive you to madness or suicide or murder, don't do it. Unless the sun inside you is burning your gut, don't do it. When it is truly time, and if you have been chosen, it will do it by itself, and it will keep on doing it until you die or it dies in you. There's no other way, and there never was.
Boom.
Find what you love and let it kill you, Joe Rogan. Thank you, brothers.
This was so much fun.
yeah.
We got to do this more often, man. We live in the same town.
Yeah.
Every time we do it, I always say, God, I fucking love this guy.
Yeah, I love you too.
So much
brother.
fun. So much fun to talk to you. Appreciate you very much, man. And your show is amazing, by the way. It's my favorite show to watch on YouTube.
Nah, stop it.
I love it. You're really fantastic at interviewing people and talking to people. You're really good at it. And you're very, very balanced in your approach. You're a really good listener, really good at letting people express themselves.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it very much.
Love you, man.
I love you too. Bye, everybody.